Hello and welcome everybody to the Mixup podcast. Apologies for the short delay. Just had a little bit of an existential crisis getting started here. My name is Turned Down for Walt. I am joined by my co-host Radar SSBM for your quarterly podcast, which we are totally going to be bringing back more regularly, as we always talk about, but for real this time, every 2 weeks, maybe, for sure.
Definitely I think we're gonna make it work. Okay, 2022 is the year of the content, and also, it was Lunar New Year relatively recently, so we can just say like fresh start. We're into 2022 right now. Before it did not count, and we're ready to go. Of course, we have the legendary Ginger with us. Thank you so much for joining us as well. I'm super excited to talk all things rankings, recap kind of the latest events. So much things to discuss. How's everybody doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I feel like, Melee is in a really interesting spot right now, and there is a ton going on. So I'm honored to, be your guest at a time like this, especially.
Yeah, I feel like you of all people, Avery, are a very, very excellent guest to have for what we have scheduled today, because I feel like you are a very of sound mind and analytical presence when it comes to this game, and just being able to kind of like get your insight on kind of the state of the game and how things are going. I think would be very
like valuable. You're like enlisting him for war or something. Like every man that is of sound mind and body must join us to discuss the rankings tonight.
I don't know, man. Would you? You would probably enlist Ginger though. Like if we were
I
making
would.
A Melee regime.
He knows
like
how
that.
to use a gun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in there.
But yeah, no, I mean, I guess we can just start off with a couple PSAs, just like general things. See what I'm going here? There's a segue here that I unintentionally made. But before we talk about that, actually, I do want to say to those of you in chat, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion tonight. We will bring this podcast back more because it's fun to do. It's just fucking hard. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if any of you guys want to potentially be involved in the show, towards the end of the show, we have a question segment. Sometimes that is an on-call. You kind of join us on the Discord call. You can ask your question radio style, or they'll be just read off Ask the Mix-Up questions. I'm telling you, man, this hashtag is gonna take off eventually, and I can feel it in my bones. Ask the Mix-Up is gonna be something. So if you guys have questions, you can type hashtag Ask the Mixup either in chat here. You can do it. I have a channel on my Discord personally where people can just pop questions in, or on Twitter. And otherwise, we'll figure out if we want to do a radio call-in or just kind of read off questions, time permitting, at the end of the show. But just wanted to put that out there. Again, thank you guys. Let's talk about our first event, because there's been a lot of really cool things happening, and I think it's kind of a unique position for Melee. Obviously, super duper unfortunate given the circumstances with Genesis 8, but it has allowed us to kind of pivot back towards online events. And I know for you, Ginger, you had talked about how you yourself have been kind of doing more of these like online runs for your streams and stuff like that. So I think it puts people like you and players who want to kind of get more reps in for events in a good position, and then it puts people like Radar and myself in good positions because we can make events like Genesis happen. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so just to piggyback off of that a little bit, I know I was mentioning to you before the show that I hadn't entered a netplay event since last July. Was the last time I had entered a netplay event. Up until Magi ran like a Midnight Melee, Magi's Midnight Melee or whatever, which was like sort of a meme degen tournament. But like winner got a flight to go to an in-person LAN event in New York, and I was like, oh, this sounds awesome. So, but I even think that was maybe in December. So I was gone for about like a 5-month period. But it is obviously tragic what happened with Genesis and then postponing until April. But also, like you mentioned, it opens up a lot of doors. Something that's kind of cool, in a weird, tragic, sort of bittersweet kind of way, is that Ludwig stepped up and made this gigantic net play event, right? And now we don't just have Genesis and then the rest of the world. We have like the largest Melee net play event that's ever happened, and we also get Genesis later in the year regardless. So on top of net play events coming back in full force, on top of having the largest Melee event that's ever happened, we still get these high-level in-person tournaments that are slated to happen later in the year, which I think is just awesome.
I think the funniest part about that to me is if you guys like listen to the Yard, Ludwig explained that like one of the reasons he ran that tournament was because of that guy. I'm forgetting his tag that tweeted that like I want to get a give me the money back or I'll get a lawyer. And he like
it was Khaled. He was PR, dude.
I know. Yeah, I met that guy.
No, I know, like known player in the scene. I'm not, but he literally was DMing him, and they were like arguing, and then he was like, "Okay, I give you the money," and then he like said like, "But you're never allowed to come to any tournaments I run," and he blocked him, banned him, and then said like, "I'm running the biggest tournament, ever to ever happen." So the fact that such a cool thing came out of such a petty space is all the funnier to me. Kind of a weird way to word it, but yeah, just like it just adds this like little spice that I like.
It's very on brand for somebody like Ludwig, I feel.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you and me, Radar, have a lot to kind of riff about when it comes to running Genesis. I guess for those of you in the chat who might not know, I think honestly, like you and me kind of did like a role reversal of sorts in that like you're really good at marketing, but I was the head of marketing for the event, and then I'm more used to doing like heading up content, at least for things like 5Dom and other things, but you were the head of content for the event, and it worked out really, really well actually, all things considered. So that was super duper exciting. But in classic, I think 5Dom fashion, we hopped onto a call with Patty from Alston Melee, and then we were like, yeah, what say you to running an event next week? And we were just like, well, damn. And it just kind of came together, and that was really awesome to just see in general. But yeah, no, I mean, I know for me personally, like putting on like the marketing hat was something I'm not particularly great at, and I learned a lot just in those like 3 days of trying to like put things together for that.
I mean, even for me, like the kind of stuff that I do career-wise for advertising is more like the content side anyway, right?
Sure,
like I'll be doing like creative, like writing stuff, and some of the stuff that you were having to do, like to actually like reach out with sponsors, kind of like essentially Walt had to like cold call some people, or like, like just sort of say like, hey, we have this thing we're doing, like, and you can articulate this better than I can, but like, hey, like kind of, do you want to get involved in this thing? It's pretty cool, which is not easy to do.
It was crazy, dude.
Yeah, like, is that a good summary of what you had to do, or am I not doing it justice?
I have a tweet that I drafted the other day, and I'm pulling it up right now. I just wrote, marketing is so fucking easy, dude. You literally just ask people for money, and sometimes they give it to you. That's it. It's insane, man. Like that, like, yeah, it was straight up just like cold calling people. And like me and Patty were just like in private calls for the past like couple days leading up to the event. And I had like started messaging people to potentially sponsor on that Monday. And in my emails, I was like, hey, like, I know this is like totally fucking ridiculous, but you need to give me an answer by Wednesday. Cause like we need to like lock in our sponsors and like get overlays set and everything like that. I was like shocked. We got CLG, Golden Guardians, Panda, Fresh Cut, and Ether Studios. So Dan Fernacey, the guy that made Rivals of Ether, all like responded same day, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll play." And I was like, "That's insane that like you guys are just like down to throw money like that really quick." So definitely like a really huge boon to an event like that, which made me feel really good because we were able to just pick up close to $9,000-$10,000 worth of sponsor money from that, and that definitely helps and goes a long way for the staff and just kind of the event as a whole. So made me feel good. And then Radar killed it on content and everything. Millionaire was awesome as usual. I heard Cody shit the bed, and yeah.
The only thing I regret is not cutting Blur shit down more. Like I was talking with fucking Edwin Budding, like Anoke, and I was like, dude, like, is this too long? Like we like literally like kind of watched it together, and I was like, like I feel like if I cut it down, like kind of like lose some of the continuity. But then when people were watching, they were like, "Holy shit, Blur, just fucking answer the question." And I'm like, "Yeah, we should have put a little bit of a time limit in or something." But mostly the content went well. I think in particular the show matches are something, ahead of LCS that like I'd be interested in discussing. Interestingly enough, before we did the show matches, I like right before Genesis kind of like came in full swing, I got like food poisoning, and it was like really bad food poisoning. Like I was like,
So
very,
bad.
very sick, like very, very sick.
No.
Like, throwing up for like 15 hours or whatever. It was terrible. And so I started to get better. And then a couple days after that, Leffen gets food poisoning, and I was just like, man, like my heart goes out to you, and you cannot play. Like if someone asked me like pick up a controller, bro, like, and I'm just like, getting destroyed by my own body, I would have like died. So I was the only one, I feel, because there were so many people being like, come on, man, just do it, just play.
Yeah.
Like, so that was kind of one of the first things that stood out to me is Leffen's performance. And Ginger, we've been kind of talking back and forth with Walt. What did you think about the three kind of main show matches being Leffen Mango Zane, and Leffen Zane?
I thought they were all really great, but they were like all blowouts, which was really surprising. Because you're thinking, okay, we have like Mango Zane tier, right? And everyone's like, well, kind of Leffen too, though, right? And so you're like, okay, fine. Mango Zane Leffen tier. And then like, well, it looks like it's just the goddamn Leffen tier, honestly. I don't know. But it was surprising to see Mango look a little unpolished, especially against Leffen, but also against Zane. Especially because Mango had put up such a good performance against Zane in Smash Summit 12. Literally like a master class. Like I plan on like analyzing the set myself, like for YouTube or whatever, because it was just so good. He's implementing all these new cool ideas, playing so consistently. Mango's just on another level. And then maybe he runs out of steam playing IBDW. But then the show match happens, and it's like, whoa, Zane looks like this consistent, player who just can't be beaten. He can't be, pushed over like he was at the Summit set. So if anything, it's kind of this cool back and forth of them adapting to each other and continuing to get better, pushing the meta, all that kind of stuff. All while Leffen is just, adapting a new character to playing against Zane, which was really great and interesting to see. I actually mentioned this on my stream a couple times where I actually played against Leffen's Sheik back in like 2017. I was housing him for like a week or something. And I was like, this guy's Sheik is really good. And so when he started talking, sort of making that discussion about like, oh, I think I'm just going to switch to Sheik for Marth. And everyone's like, yeah, right. Like, you're just going to play Fox. I was like, no, this guy's got like a real Sheik, like for real. So yeah, I thought it was awesome to see the show matches, and I'm glad that we had the show matches, because without that, we really wouldn't have seen Leffen perform, right?
Yeah.
So it was awesome that not only was he willing to do that, but he was able to before the awful food poisoning hit.
Before Zane poisoned his breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a show match that I want to talk about here. First off, I know that you had mentioned Fiction before the show. How do you feel about Mikey the Cheat getting absolutely fucking conned out of his set against? Was it against Fiction? Who was it against?
He did play against Fiction.
He had a show match against Chillin, but he should have beaten Fiction. Is all I'm saying.
Oh,
in bracket. Yeah. So did you see that set, Radar? I think we were casting during it, and I pulled up the other stream in the middle of our commentary block.
Wait,
and I
we
was
were
typing in.
During
yeah,
it?
I was typing
in
the other chat.
See it. I haven't watched it since. No,
yeah.
I think that was the only. Yeah, one of the only ones I missed. I every single one that I could see live, I did see live. But yeah, if I was commentating, I don't think I went back and rewatched.
Absolutely conned, dude. Like, should have completely taken that. I don't know. I'll die on that hill, and I'm upset that Mikey didn't win that. But
well, the thing I noticed, right, was that Mikey like posted a clip to Twitter or something, and that was the first I had seen of the set, and he was up 3 stocks to 1, and I was like, wait, but Fiction like didn't lose. What happened? Like, what happened this set?
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
the show match I want to mention, and I don't know if either of you saw it, was the old guard versus the new guard in doubles. Because that I think was one of the most interesting, aside from seeing kind of Lef and Sheik go kind of hamburgers in those show matches, and also just beat up on Mango. Seeing PewFat back for one is awesome, but seeing them play against Run Riot and Tempo is really, really cool. One, because I love doubles. I am a doubles enjoyer through and through and forever. I think doubles is super underrated and people should play it more. But also just like knowing that PewFat has like helped them. Like Bobby messages Run Riot and Tempo all the time with like basically like strategy, mindset work, like how to work in doubles, how to be an efficient team. It's like super cool seeing like their conversations with each other. And I've talked with kind of the young guns about how they approach doubles and stuff like that, and that's really interesting to me. All things considered, they kind of got mopped up too. Like you said, Ginger, everything was kind of a wash in all of these show matches, but you know, that one was probably the most interesting to me. And also MKLeo and Spargo in Melee, because they were really good at Melee, which was unexpected. So
very surprising.
I think with the double stuff, like the one thing in the back of my mind, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about with this, is like PewPew is retired, and then SFAT is clearly not retired, active, one of the best players in the game right now. But how retired is PewPew? Like, has he not touched a controller in 2 years, or is he like, you know, playing net play in a top player Discord? Like you know, I've played Zoo, for example, in the last like 6 months. Zoo's still really fucking good. Like, you know, just because Zoo's retired doesn't mean you play him and you're like, wow, man, like what happened? Like, so when I was seeing them do well, I was like, okay, you get top 10 player in the world who's maybe like playing the best he ever has been playing, and we'll get to the kind of rankings breakdown later. But SFAT, like very, very good player. And then PewPew, formerly an amazing player who is now retired, but like, how retired is he? He didn't look that retired to me. In a good way. It was definitely fun. But I don't know about that.
Yeah. I think you know, I've heard of Zoo playing tons of people. I haven't heard of Kevin PewPew playing against a ton of people. But like, I just think that they had an understanding of doubles, and they also have so much high level experience in doubles over like everybody else. Like one of the kind of cool things about Run Riot and Tempo right now is they're sort of just running over every like run in the mill team that they would see like in a net play tournament or anything like that. And that's cool because you're like, whoa, these guys like understand doubles, like you can tell. But how many times have they gotten to play against, you know, Armada and Android or Ice and Leffen? And it's like, yo, PewFat has like all this experience in the end game in like, okay, there's a high level situation in a 2v1. Like, how do we play this? You know, like usually you could just beat up on a Fox, but what if that Fox is Leffen? You know, what if that Fox is SFAT? So I feel like the level of experience they had was sort of like an edge that they had over Run Riot and Tempo. But man, it has been a minute since we've really seen high level doubles, because PewFat with PewPew retiring, obviously we don't have them as a team, and then Armada retiring. Okay, well you don't have Armada Android or Armada plus anybody as a team anymore. So it's like, man, okay, we get to see some good doubles teams, but like, where's the turn taking? Where's the, you know, teams combos? Where's the synergy? You know, so seeing their show match, even though it was a blowout, was like sort of a reminder of how awesome doubles is.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely the ceiling for it is very high. I think the thing that doubles has always struggled with, to me, is like a lack of those consistent names and teams. Like if everyone like was forced to partner with one other person, which of course would be like ridiculous, but if that was the case, you'd be like, ah, yes, my favorite team blank. But what was so often the case was like Mewtwo plus blank, like, or like best player plus best player. Like, can't wait for this. And Mewtwo was kind of the best example, because he just teamed with some other good person that like they might hate each other. Hungrybox is another great example where it's like Hungrybox would just team with like whoever, and you think like, okay, I mean, you know, get that bag, but it loses a bit of the like
team where they just stay there. It's like, and then both of them would camp. Like, it was nuts.
Yeah, that was the Team Liquid, right? They would just
at least has some value though, right? Like it's like, okay, it's Team Liquid, that makes sense. Like
I do think like Azel and Rocky are the team that comes to mind of like the narrative, you know, because doubles narratives of like in competitive sense like aren't really there, because one, there aren't a lot of tournaments right now in general, and two, net play events aren't really focusing on doubles because it's just like harder logistically to do that, and then like you run into ISP issues probably, and then that could be, you know, a whole different can of worms. So yeah, it's tough out there for the doubles players. But I think like Azel and Rocky as another example of people who are like not like super high up on the top 100, but are probably top 2-3 teams in the world right now. Like they beat up on Run Riot and Tempo too every so often. So that's really cool to see. I was thinking about a time where like last September, I think I was messaging with Kevin and I tried to convince him to secretly enter doubles at Genesis, like when it was scheduled for January, and then team with me and not tell Zach. So I messaged him and I was like, yo, how fucking funny would it be if you just like stealth entered doubles and then partnered with me, and then Zach found out later, and then he was just like yeah, really funny, man, haha. And I was like, damn it, like you're not gonna do it, are you? And he's just like, no, I'm not entering anything. I was just like,
that's funny.
That's funny. Circling back, unless I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, I thought we were gonna just talk about that other show match, but I don't know if that's where you were going.
What I wanted to kind of circle back a bit to is I feel like the show match with Leffen was the first time we could kind of answer the question of like, is it worth it? Okay, not the first time, because obviously we have other people, but like, I basically, okay, what am I trying to say? I, for a long time, have wanted to make a video about like, when should you switch characters? And in it more of like an opinion piece, not like a, hey guys, like Marth just destroys Fox, Falco, like you should fucking switch. Yep. No, not that. More like, you know, in Leffen's case, he would have been a really good example of someone who I feel like had kind of mentally given up on a matchup. And so even if he's like an amazing player and can continue to innovate and push, and like, you know, clearly Mango has proven that, you know, you can win against top Marths with Fox, but more that like, if you are mentally up against a wall whenever you play it and you just don't believe in the character anymore, like it probably is worth it to switch. And since obviously we have a top player here with us, I guess I was a bit curious about what Ginger, but also what Walt thinks about like how we kind of feel about character switching in general, whether, you know, obviously if you look at Leffen stomping Zane, it's like a pretty good switch. But like, what are your thoughts on that kind of more broadly?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting topic. I think that one of the cool things about Melee that people talk about all the time is like it's this really creative, expressive game, right? Where you can play how you want, and if you get really good at the game, you can like make it work. Obviously, that's like, you know, some play styles don't work. You can't just hold W on somebody or something. But regardless, like people view the game in different ways, which affect how people evaluate risk reward. Everybody has a slightly altered version of risk reward in their head. And so like maybe Mango looks at Fox Marth and he just thinks, well, I just have to outplay the guy in this situation, and then I end up winning. And then like he might not view the downsides nearly as much. He might not think that they matter as much as Leffen does. And so like I feel like in Leffen's head, he reached this breaking point where he was like, sure, I could outplay this many times, and if I was this clean with all of my execution, I could make it work, but in terms of like how much time I have, how much practice I can have in Europe, you know, the amount of time I could just dedicate to Sheik in one matchup, I just feel like the expected value is just better there. And Mango, who gets to play with Zane every day if he would like, you know, maybe has a little bit more experience. Maybe he's just a player who focuses more on player-specific reads instead of, you know, exactly the character matchup. So he might not just value, like, exact characters as much. In all reality, every high-tier character can probably just do it alone. They probably can. Now, the Leffen case is a great one because I think that switching for like one matchup is fantastic. Because if you try to just dual main and be like, yeah, I'll just pick one when I'm feeling like it. Kind of like Mango. He's had 20 years to hone this, okay? Which is why he makes it work. But that is incredibly different than Leffen picking Sheik for Marth and nothing else. He learns Sheik-specific combos against Marth specifically. And there's really nothing else that he has to practice and involve with Sheik. Same jump squad as Fox. Maybe the transition there also makes it a little bit easier. So there's pros and cons, and there's different ways at evaluating all these different things. And like you said, I mean, Leffen reached this mental breaking point, and I do think that it was a really valuable thing for him to do.
Yeah, what do you think, Walt?
I have 0 horse in this race because I play Mario, and like don't change my character. Sometimes I change to Doc, but no, I think I agree with what Ginger said. I do think it's kind of funny that this conversation is coming up by virtue of Leffen again, because the last time we had the mix-up, we talked about something similar with Swift, and it's different. It's a different kind of dialogue, I think, when you play like a mid-tier intentionally at a high level, where like he is kind of in this position where he said on our show the last time, in my opinion, as a Pikachu player, it is mandatory for you to have a secondary. And in those positions that you had talked about before, like I have secondary Fox for Jigglypuff, or like for like Peach, let's say, like whatever it is, specific characters which warrant that because like your character is bad. Like that's just kind of how it works for something in that situation. Yep. It's cool to me that someone kind of as high level as Leffen, who could possibly like brute force his way through a matchup like that with Fox, is kind of like taking this approach of, well, this is easier for me to do it, and it's clearly working. Like, case in point, what did he 5-1 Zane? And it's online. Yeah. Like people are gonna bitch and moan about stuff like that too, for sure. But like,
did they play in person?
Oh, they did actually. Yeah. Okay, so never mind. It's not even online. Yeah. Never mind. Fuck all you guys.
No John.
Yeah.
So it was in person, and not only did he 5 like he bopped them, and also it looked like very unique in terms of what, like, it looked like a signature Leffen classic. You saw some of the punches that he was doing, like he would use up air in like really creative, interesting ways, and I was like, damn, man, like let me get the notebook out. I didn't even play Sheik. I was getting excited. Like it was very interesting, and because I have 100% faith in Zane, I know Zane like looks in that and goes, okay, how do I answer these problems? How do I solve these kind of situations?
Right, yeah.
But for me, I was so sad when he said that he had food poisoning, because I was like, wow.
He could have won the whole thing, yeah.
Just a taste of what we're going to get on Sunday, and then,
But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's, there's people who have made it work, or like made it work, you know what I mean? Like there's limited numbers of success, when it comes to, let's say, specifically Fox versus Marth, and those are Cody and Mango right now are the two people who have kind of done it. But like if you call, and it's like, I love Cody, but if you call going like 1-10 against Zane lifetime the beginning of success, sure, but like sustained success, not yet. Like it's not there, and like that strategy obviously needs refinement. And if the refinement is like, I'm going to bash my fucking head against the wall until this works again, then yeah, I like Leffen's strategy, plain and simple. And then like, to the point of like Swift, for instance, who plays Pikachu, and Pikachu Puff is just an absolutely awful matchup. It's not like it's even marginal and it's like, oh, it's 60-40, blah, blah, blah. It's just bad for that character. Then it's like a no-brainer at that point. Like you might as well do that, because what do you... like that expected value or whatever that you talked about, what do you lose if you don't switch? Like you're already hamstringing yourself by playing this matchup out. So yeah, I think when it comes to Leffen, I really like this. I think that it's super cool, and it's super healthy for competition as a whole, which obviously I think people like me and Radar, like the content heads, and like people who do commentary like more consistently, really like, because the way that I see it is like, if Leffen starts to become a huge force again, like when in-person events come back, or if we can do more like international presence for these tournaments coming up, then what does that mean for the people like Zane, It's like, does Zane either start labbing out things specifically for Sheik because he's already fine against people like Plup, or does that devolve into kind of like this dual main or like counter pick war meta that people had talked about years ago, where it's like, oh, well, if you play your Marth specific Sheik against me, then I'm gonna play like my Fox against you, and then we go back and forth in that way. So to me, like the possibilities in trees are really cool in that way.
Don't Rest Me could come out, like that's a possibility. I think that matchup can be kind of frustrating, and I could see Leffen like, as much as getting excited about a Puff Sheik is funny, but mostly I think he will very likely, I would say, stay Marth. And I feel like Zane has already demonstrated, and it's a testament to him as a player, with him playing Swift all the time for Axe, that he's like, all right, I'm just going to figure this out. I'm going to make it my comfort matchup. I'm just going to just love to play Pikachu, so that the next time I play Pikachu, and unfortunately they really haven't had that next time.
Oh, no. They were supposed to play at LACS, by the way.
Yeah, that was also sad when Axe had a DQ. We got a little robbed for something that was overall like a very, very kind of Smasher's Paradise kind of event. There were a couple of moments that were a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was literally about to bring up, like, well, at what point is Zane bringing out something for Axe? Like, will this ever happen? I think that Zane has like too much pride as a person. As a competitor, I think he wants to do it with Marth, and I think like he will make it work no matter what in his mind. That like Marth is the character for this. Like, but man, maybe he could shift his identity. I'm not really certain, but at least for the time being, I see Zane sticking with Marth. But who knows? Maybe long term, if he would have suck it up, switch to Fox for Pikachu or something, or maybe Don't Rest Me or whatever, maybe that could have been a good decision for him long term. But one thing that I meant to bring up earlier, that this is a perfect time to bring it up, is that just how certain people have certain play styles, certain characters fit those play styles. Like I had this friend, Tran. He was one of my longtime training partners, and he was a Fox player. And I always thought he was like better than me, but he got way worse results. He like couldn't really string it together. And I started realizing like he just plays Fox as if he's Marth. Like if he was just Marth, he would be so good. It would blow my mind. I was like, I'm just watching a Marth player in a Fox body. This just doesn't make any sense. And so, I mean, he never became top 100. He went to college, did his own thing. But somebody like Zane, maybe, like, Marth is in his mind, body, and soul. You know what I mean? I can, like, see a Marth, and I'm like, oh, this is, like, the perfect character for how Zane's playing it, like, amazing. But maybe he switches to Fox, and something just doesn't click, For as good as Zane is and how analytical he is, maybe how he evaluates risk-reward and just sees the game in terms of, like, what he prioritizes, maybe that just doesn't line up with how Fox is able to work. And this is a testament to Leffen, because I really think that, like, Sheik fits along with exactly how he sees the game and how he's going to be, like, systematically breaking down percents and, consistent edge guards and blah, blah, blah. Like, Sheik Marth just, like, makes sense. I watch, Leffen's Fox. I'm like, he could probably play Sheik against Marth. This would work out really well.
Yeah, I think it works kind of conversely to maybe it doesn't click, where like you also get the situations of players who bring like really unique and like new ideas to the tried and true mains, for instance. And like I know like the thing that comes to mind is the poll that Mango had posted the other day, where he's like, I'm just gonna work on another character, like who do you guys want? And people in the replies were like, we want to see your Sheik, like of all the characters.
What did he vote, by the way? Do you know the final result? I like hope it's not Falcon. I'm just gonna say that right now. Like I've seen so much Mango
Marth,
Falcon. Just anything else. Was it Marth?
I voted for Marth, and I think it was I
voted for Marth. I'd love to see the Sheik as well. Like he's done some really cool Sheik stuff, but I feel like I've just seen so much Mango Falcon.
I mean, he was playing Sheik on stream.
Falcon won, actually. That's
barely
so
won by 0.1%.
Maybe I'm just like, I'm not a Falcon hater, but sometimes I feel like it's not that I wouldn't go as far as to say like the Wizrobe style is like the ideal way to play the character or something, but I feel like some of the innovation in that character, it just doesn't feel like it's going to come from Mango and the way he plays. It feels more like, but again, super creative guy happens to just like come up with stuff that, like, you watch him play any character and you're like, damn, I don't know if I've seen that before. So of course it's fun to watch him play anything, but I feel like the only time I've seen Mango play Sheik is literally him being like, does Shroom just suck? And like comboing people and be like just making fun of like every Sheik player. And so I'm like, give me some more of that. Or when he played Marth, it felt like, oh, this is a very like, your Jigglypuff is trapped in a Marth body. And that was really cool to watch. So just as an aside, I really hope he didn't go with the Falcon route because, yeah.
One funny thing about his Sheik, real quick, is his the Mango combo with Sheik, by the way, is down throw, and then they tech away, and he shoots full stack of needles. He doesn't react to tech chase. He doesn't like charge enough fast.
I love
lets
that.
Go all the needles.
It's like just solid 30 damage, and that's it. Like,
he doesn't like it. It's like one of his least favorite things in the entire game. So it makes sense that he's just like, nah.
That's so funny.
His reactions are so good too. It's so annoying that he won't. But anyway, he plays his own way. Good for him.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of cool from that perspective though, where it's like you said it in the thread too, Radar, and then like other people kind of chimed in and echoed that statement of like, it's not even like, I don't even think it's really like, oh, you would be so insane with this character, or like you would perform so much better, but it's just like, wow, you bring something so different to the table that no one else does because you're just so fucking cracked in a different way, And that to me makes it really cool. Again, kind of, I think from the spectator and like, watcher's angle of like, oh, we can watch something that seasoned Melee watchers and maybe newer, inexperienced people to the scene haven't seen before, and that's really interesting to me. And then the players who are seasoned with those characters kind of adopt those ideas and remix them and kind of fashion them into a way that works into their playstyle, which is always really nice too.
I think something that also should not be as much of a thing as it is, but it's actually very, very, very much a thing, is like the PR and image around characters is very heavily affected by top players.
Yeah.
And so if Mango starts playing Sheik and goes like, man, look at how cool my Sheik is, and all the little
everyone's in. Everyone is
my
all
God,
in.
Sheik is amazing. Suddenly, like Sheik stocks are going up. It's the same with like Leffen. He basically was like, Marth just beats Fox, and then for like 2 years, everyone was just like, it's impossible, and like he single-handedly shaped that. Not single-handedly. Cody jumped on it. There were other people too, but like I feel people don't like think enough about like if Mango started playing Sheik a lot, like people's public opinion would change. Not Ginger's opinion, like maybe not my opinion, but like the guys in the Twitch chat would be like, Sheik is the hardest character, like
it's just like best. It's just like when you talk to your parents and like you adopt their like political beliefs and stuff. You know what I mean? Like people are like, oh wow, like Sheik is so fucking useless in X matchup or whatever because like Mango said so, or like something. It's exactly like that, and it's
it
is,
dude. Okay, two things here. Okay, first off, so not only does this happen with player or characters, but this also happens with players. For example, Mango was playing against Fiction on his stream when Fiction first kind of switched to Falco. It had been a few months of him practicing, kind of in the shadows. He felt good enough to finally play against Mango. Now, Fiction, much more patient than Mango. We all realize that or whatever. And Mango's like losing some games against this new Falco. And he's crying on stream, to be honest with you, Mango. I'm sorry. But he's just like, dude, Fiction's so lame. This is so dumb. Like, I can't believe he would play like this. And then like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours into the session or something, Mango's like, and by the way, the whole chat was eating Fiction for breakfast. Look at this stupid lame Falco. LOL, new Ginger. Haha. Anyway. But anyway, then Mango starts saying, you know what? This guy's like testing my discipline. He's put in a lot of work. Like, look at these combos. Like, he's actually really good. The whole chat it just changes. Like, wow, Fiction's the best. Like, look at this guy. He's been playing for such a short amount of time. How does he do it? It's like, oh my God. Mango said like 3 things. So there's that, which is funny. And then on top of that, Oh my god, what was I gonna say? It had something to do with what Radar just said. I don't know. I lost it. Sorry. I'll literally remember it in a couple of minutes. I'll bring it back up because it was good.
Definitely interject if you do. I know, like, just the ability to shape opinions is very powerful, and I think like that example you just gave, sometimes I think it's important for like the community to break out of those habits a bit. Like, I think one of the things I've always wanted to ask you, especially like as a Falco player, is you kind of like famously are very have a lot of faith in Falco. And I think one of the things I've wanted to ask before is like, how much of that faith sometimes is like a mentality exercise, and like, yo, Falco's he's like one of the most broken, overpowered characters ever. Like, he can do so much. And how much of that is like you go to bed and you're just like, Falco's so good. Like how much is it you forcing yourself to think that way?
Like smiling in your sleep.
Yeah, like, but you know what I mean? There must be some, like, you must get grabbed by Martha and think like, Falco's so good. He's so good. You know, like, so.
Yeah. No, this is a great question. So, I'm going to start off with a quick story, which is I was at a Super Smash Con once, and I walk up to a group of people talking, a bunch of people that I really respect, which is Drug Fox, Zealous 5000, and somebody else that I can't recall. And I said, hey guys, what are we talking about? They're like in a heated discussion. And they're talking about the importance of being delusional. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And they asked me, how delusional do you think that you should be about your skill level? And I was like, I guess I've really never thought of it. But we ended up agreeing towards the end, at least most of us, that like you should be a little delusional. Like, as IBDW, who has lost to Zane 59 times in a row or whatever, not 59, I'm exaggerating, hubris, or not hubris, hyperbole. So like, as someone who's lost to him 59 times in a row, you have to go into the 60th time being like, I'm just gonna beat him this time, right? Like, you have to be a little delusional. So when it comes to Falco, I don't honestly believe I have delusions about how good Falco is. But it would be fair to say that I honestly don't think I'd be able to tell anymore.
You look in the mirror and you just see the bird. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm like too far gone if I am delusional.
Hello, old friend.
Yeah, the one thing that makes it weird for me is that I consistently analyze the game as much as I can. I've analyzed every loss I've ever had, usually the same day that I lose. And I look at it, and I'm looking at Falco, and I've never thought like, oh, I just like can't win in that situation. I always end up coming back to it like, whoa, Falco actually wins that situation. Like, if I think about the way this punish could go, or the advantage I would gain by winning that situation versus the advantage that they would get out of the situation, this is just, it's coming up Falco like nearly every time. Now there's some situations where like Falco's just boned, where other characters aren't boned. Like, sometimes I get jealous of Pikachu. I see Pikachu edgeguard Marth, and I'm just like, that guy just sails out there, doesn't care about his life. Yeah. Imagine Falco down airs off the stage, but then turns into Pikachu as soon as he's done down airing. Like, okay, this would be awesome. So I think I'm realistic about the pros and cons, but it's weird to me that my opinion has never changed, which is why, if I'm being skeptical about my own beliefs, maybe I'm delusional somewhere, but I just haven't found it yet, I guess.
I think that's like the perfect answer. Like, it's like so genuine. It probably subverts some expectations. Like, some people are probably like, yeah, you know, every once in a while, like, he doesn't believe, but it's like, no, like, somehow it's clicking.
Yeah. I've never thought to myself like, dang, Falco just loses this matchup. No, I can't think that.
Oh,
no,
that must be
I
nice,
can't.
man. Damn.
Like, yeah, sorry. But I think that thought has never crossed my brain. It's always like, this must have been a me problem, right? And then I like, maybe I confirmation bias my way into that. But what I say is that that's the most effective way to go about it. Because what if I am wrong, you know? And Falco isn't the best character of the game. Well, I still like take full responsibility for my losses, which is the most important thing you can do as a competitor, and then I could be honest about the situations that happen with the game without distracting thoughts of what character wins what, or like, isn't this character dumb or easy? I'm just like, okay, well, what can I do better? I'm gonna pick Falco, so like, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think well said. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like the wall like
I'm like it like because I think I have a pretty okay mentality overall, but like just hearing Ginger describe this, I'm like, holy shit, man. Like I think I think like this when I play, but I also hate my fucking character. So like so I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, this matchup is impossible, man. Like this is bullshit. And then I'll also do exactly what you said, where I'm like, it's a me problem. Like, how do I just do better next time?
Yeah,
Ugh.
that like, again, this video, if it ever comes out one day, was gonna address like, Axe as an example, which we already talked about a bit with kind of Swift's opinion. Was gonna address Left as an example, and then just kind of the more general example where I feel like I agree with the philosophy that like any like truly good character in Melee, there's so much of the like you factor that like it very likely is a you problem. And the way the game is, it's like there's so many opportunities to outplay someone that like it probably is. That being said, like, so Mario, I don't know. Well, I'm sorry. It might not be a you problem. Like,
yeah, rarely have I ever been like, I feel real good about this matchup. Like, this feels good. I'm comfy against this Falco.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but I think despite all those thoughts, which I definitely apply to like other people, it is hard not to be like against Marth specifically and think like, just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess, all right, I guess that happens.
Nope.
Wait,
I think we lost you. Lost your audio.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Awesome. My Discord, I think I was like shaking I was like too animated. Slightly unplugged something. I think we're good now, yes?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so what I was saying is that I'm going to be vulnerable for a sec, okay? Very honest. So after I lose, almost always I go and I DM Drug Fox, like immediately, about my thoughts about the set, whether that's really angry thoughts or productive thoughts or whatever. And I lost to Zane at Summit. And I messaged him and I was like, I'm done playing Falco against Zane. I'm done. I'll go Falco or something, or Falcon or something. Maybe I'll pick up Pikachu. I don't care. But this guy, I'm sick of it. I don't like it. I don't have fun. It's not cool. So obviously I was just super upset in the moment. Like literally, okay, I lost 3-0. I got like 4-stocked in front of everybody at Summit. It's a hard thing to take. And then I ended up having the most productive conversation with Zane, having a super productive conversation with Drug Fox. And my last set against Zane actually looked really good. I took him to last stock, I think 2 separate games, and I beat him in one of the games, which hasn't happened in 2 or 3 years. But I was in that moment, and I was like, damn, dude. I don't even think Falco loses the matchup. I kept saying that weekend, maybe I'm just not the guy. Maybe I'm not the guy to be able to beat Zane with Falco. I've seen Mango do it a million times. I can tell you how he does it. For some reason, I can't do it. I see Axe beat it with Pikachu. It looks easy. Maybe I'll just do that. Yeah, these are my vulnerable thoughts after I lost. Okay, this is how I walk around every day. But yeah, so I've reached points where that level of frustration gets to me. But I always end up being very clear and like, no, it's a me problem.
That's funny. That's the Axe comment in particular. Like, I'm looking at that thinking like, I want some of that.
It's like that. It's like that meme of the guy walking and holding hands with his girlfriend, and you're like looking behind you, and there's like a fucking Pikachu there.
Pikachu is right there, man.
Like the door is always open for this mouse.
Yeah,
that's funny. That would just be like, that would literally be the April Fool's Twitter post for me, is like, Ginger's getting a Pikachu secondary. Like, I'd be like, no fucking way. Like, no way.
I had a really funny post a long time ago where I said, all right, guys, I'm picking up a secondary. It's finally time. I realize the Falco can't do it, so I'm switching to Port 1 Falco, everybody. Port 1 is what I'm doing. It was around the time where all that throw tech stuff came out about Port 1 Falco versus Fox and all that. And I was like, you know what? I pick Port 2 all the time, and Clitty picks Port 1. Like, no. We're RPSing for that.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
In the interest of moving on, should we start segueing Walt into either LACS 4 bracket, or do we want to hit kind of the main MPGR stuff? What are you feeling?
Let's take a couple minutes and maybe just talk about obviously, Ginger, you played in LACS 7th, right?
7th, yes.
Okay. I guess like thoughts on the event as a whole, like kind of people that you thought had really good performances there. I obviously have a few people that come to mind when it comes to this event. And there were just like really solid moments overall. Of course, Radar and myself were casting for a good chunk of it up until top 16 or top 12. So we got to see a good chunk of the event as well. But, kind of your thoughts as both a competitor and watching some other people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, one of the really unfortunate things was Axe having to drop out, right? Because he was about to beat Chudat, which is crazy. I actually think that would have been an amazing performance for Axe. He usually struggles very hard with Ice Climbers, and he usually goes Falco, sometimes loses. But he was about to beat Chu with Pikachu 3-0. So that would have been really interesting. It would be literally a sin if I didn't mention Moki. I mean, dear God, obviously extremely underrated, but always comes back to prove just how good he is. Did he get double eliminated by Mango? I think he ended up getting double eliminated by Mango.
Yes.
Yes.
Back it up right.
And
no,
that's
he lost
tough.
to HBox. Oh, no, he beat HBox 2-3.
No, he beat HBox.
Yeah, so
beat
double
Plub,
him to
Mango.
Mango. Yeah, because he got third.
Yeah. Yep. So he got double in by Mango, and it's like, dang, dude, if that's your resume, the only person you're losing to in the tournament is like literally, I mean, came out in the MPGR, like literally number 1 in the world. Obviously, Fox Destroyer God. You had a pretty good tournament. Beating HBox, who's looked really solid recently. Obviously, I feel like the memes are gone. Like, HBox can lose to anybody. Oh, he's losing to, like, a Yoshi? He lost to Whiskers or whatever? No, hate to Whiskers. Incredible player. But you see HBox beating Omsa. You think he'd never lose to a Yoshi ever in his life or whatever. So I think Moki's run was incredible. Honestly, something to behold. Beat Fiction, who's also been really, really good against Foxes recently. So shout out to him. And another one, I'll just take like a third name here real quick, is Bobby Big Balls.
That's right. We were
yeah,
talking about this on comms too. But
So Bobby and I obviously have some weird history, whatever the heck. I usually don't give him a lot of props, but I have to. I literally have to. His set against Ben was really good. He 3-0'd Slug, Slug was like, I thought he was going to do incredible this tournament. He's been on a tear recently. Ended up getting his bracket run literally cut short by Bobby Big Balls. Okay. Bobby ends up 3-0ing Sora while talking shit on his stream. He's like, it literally was like a joke to him. He's just like beating him up too bad. He like literally can't take it serious enough. And he also, people forgot because it happened in pools. You don't see it immediately in the bracket. He also beat Spark. And Spark has been looking incredible, honestly, since he came back
as well,
to the States.
too.
Also beat Face Roll.
Yeah,
like,
both
dude,
cheeks.
what are you doing? And to be honest with you, when I watched the Spark set, I was like, whoa. Because he enters the tournament like every day, and I usually pop in, watch the the stream, see what's going on, and he might lose some non-top 100 player and not even really put up much of a fight, honestly. And when I saw that Spark set, I was like, whoa, this guy's doing really good stuff, really consistently. And then he started like randomly full hopping and rolling around like he always does. I'm like, please stop it. You were literally just doing the good stuff. But anyway, but he strung together enough of the good stuff for enough of the sets for me to sincerely give him a lot of props. I thought he had an amazing like breakout performance, honestly.
Spark was the one that we casted, right, Radar?
Honestly, I
I'm
don't
pretty sure
remember.
it was.
I don't.
Yeah, because
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes, we
I
did.
remember like we were talking about that set as it was
Or was it
happening.
Ben?
I'm pretty sure it was Spark.
If it was in pools, it probably was Spark. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were
Because he
talking
also
about
beat Ben, by the way. He was like
yeah.
destroying
Did.
the sheet.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was
So-
just insane to me, like when we were, because we kept going back to like, wow, like he's playing super passively in like situations where historically he would never ever do that. So that was the coolest thing to me, where I'm like, wow, I'm watching him like press advantage, and then he just like phantasms to top platform because he's just like he's like, fuck it, I'm out, and I'm like, that would never happen in like 2020 Bobby, that 2021 Bobby, even that doesn't work. But yeah, that was super impressive to me. You mentioned Slug, who is absolutely nuts. I casted a very non-zero number of Ice Climber sets when I was on Brandon's stream, which I love. I actually love casting Ice Climbers. I used to play Ices.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's just like cool because they're just a dying breed and there's so few of them. So seeing Slug be successful is awesome. And I do think he actually has one of the best plays of that tournament that people don't know about, because he got a non-true JV5 in bracket.
Whoa.
Against Younger, which was really
Wow.
cool.
Against Younger too. I'm a Younger fan, by the way. Everybody knows this about me. That's crazy.
Yeah, Younger got one laser on Popo,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
you don't count
no.
lasers. So it was it was the
no.
milk JV milk combo of he got 2% at the end of that game, which was insane.
that's-
Like me and Gen X were just like, we sure this isn't like a warm up? And then like we saw them playing and we're like, damn, he's just getting
Wow.
like messed up right now.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Unfortunate with Axe for sure, but I do think did Axe DQing allow us to get Chudat versus Aklo, or did that just happen in pools? I can't remember, because that was like
happened in losers.
okay,
Unless Aklo ran into a different Ice Climbers and losers. Aklo got double limbed by Ices.
yeah.
Yeah,
I've been
Aklo played-
testing myself, by the way, to
Shoot.
not bring up the bracket, but
Oh yeah, why?
yeah, I just
This isn't
'cause
millionaire, so like,
I think I have it all in my head, but we'll see.
Yeah, they played in pools, so it was best of 3, but or I guess it was 4 top 64, Aklo versus
Gotcha.
Shu, but that was before Axe DQ'd. So either way, I
Yeah.
think that was probably one of my most like anticipated matches of just like who can stand still better in a
Mhm.
set, and I just wanted to see like just like a stare down for most of that set. So that was exciting too. I don't know. I thought the event was great. Do you have any like standout sets that you remember, Radar, or just like kind of players who maybe overperformed or underperformed?
well, the first thing I want to do, because you mentioned Dark Gen X, is give him a big shout out, because we did a little bracket preview thing the day before, and Dark Gen X said something like, "Hey, in pool number, 3 or whatever, these are the players I think that will get upset. I think KJH is going to lose to. I'm trying to remember the player.
Lunar Dusk.
Lunar Dusk. He's like, I think he's like, I'm predicting that. I'm predicting this. He got like almost every single prediction right, and then both him and I were like, I'm really feeling a Moki run. I feel like he's just kind of got the fire in him. He definitely is like able to do it. So we got that right. But Dark Gen X in particular had like crystal ball of predictions that ended up working out really well. I definitely was very glad to see Moki do well. I feel like Moki, quite kind of emotional player, and someone who I feel like is both like overdue for a good performance, and also like being a Canadian Melee, not player but person. I know that like COVID has made it tough to go to events. Like if I
Absolutely.
want to commentate an event and they say like, "Hey, we'll fly you out or something," and I go like, "Oh, but what if I get COVID?" And the answer is, "Well, you're trapped here. Like, good luck." Is not easy, especially if you're like trying to be a full-time Melee player. Like, I'm sure for Moki, if he got trapped in like the States and had to like stay in a hotel for a couple of weeks, that would like really, really be devastating financially.
Yeah.
So like even we'll get to it in a bit with the MPGR, but Moki is not on it, as well as many
Yeah.
other people. So seeing him get third felt long overdue. That was definitely just a very, very good performance. I mean, I loved that HBox tweeted being like, what was it, that Moki might be as high as 16th now or something like that.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good reference for people who haven't seen. HBox made a list a long time ago, not that long ago, like within this year, where he put Moki as 17th, and Moki was like, "What the fuck? How am I 17th?" Which I think was justified, but it was really funny reaction. So I'm glad, he seems super happy with the performance. And you bring up the Mango thing. Great point. Like, only losing to Mango is not bad. Like, it's really not bad. So
not bad.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah. I guess with that we can talk about one of the, I guess, bigger topic items here, which is, of course, the PGR Contenders List that just released, courtesy of PGstats today on YouTube. I think the B and C tiers released a couple days earlier, but video dropped today. Do you want to give the caveat, because I voiced the video, so I know what came out from it, is it's not an official ranking period. It's just kind of like a list of like who to look out for. That's why it's called Contenders and not the ranking list. Like, I just want to put that out there for people, because people are gonna be like angry, because everyone gets angry when rankings come out, and I think that's good because that's content. But it's like, let's celebrate this shit. How about that?
You guys, you know that meme where it's like, or not a meme, it's like a comic, and the guy like has like a little like piece of like a ball or something that's his like art, and he goes like, "I made this," and he like hands it to the guy, and the guy's like, "I made this." Like, I feel like that's how people are. We're like, this isn't rankings, and they're like, totally, this is rankings.
What is this rank? But with that, I accidentally spoiled the overlay with it, but we'll take a look right now, starting with our C tier for today.
So I want to go on a little mini rant before we even get started, because one of my most passionate takes, and it probably sounds really superficial, but I do actually think it matters, is they went with a S to C tier system. And there's something that just inherently feels very wrong about putting people, particularly the C tier, to be like, Lucky, he's a C tier melee player. Albert, C tier, man.
Like,
Cobalt, C tier. Yeah. Like, I think there's a way to present this, like, even if it's something as superficial as B-, B, and B+, it feels like
true.
I'm trying to think, like,
as in not having D or F.
Like, well, like, okay,
these top 50 players fucking suck, and here's why.
Like, I don't follow sports that closely. There have been times where I do, but if I think about like anything, whether it's like the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, like anything, these players would be in those leagues. They wouldn't be in like the semi-pro league. They might not be like LeBron, but they're still on the fucking team, man. Like, they're still like, holy shit, that is like the peak of competition. So, seeing Zamu tweet, or Zamu, I always forget how he pronounces it, like, I am a C tier melee player, just felt like a little bad, man. Like, it felt bad. And like, every single one of these people, like Slug just had a great performance. I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. So that's my hot take to start off.
I can tell you from like the backside of like putting this project together, I was confused as hell voicing this, because they just handed me like a write-up, and they were like, all right, they had like the list of like the S. I'm like, we'll get to the later ones later on, but it was like S and S plus. And I like the way that it was formatted for me to voice it. I was like, what is the difference between these two tiers? Like, I don't get it. Like, there's like a S and then like a better S. I can just
picture you being like, in an S we have this, and then in the Mango Zane tier.
Yeah, I was confused, man. So I'm like reading through it, and I'm trying to like organize my my file structure so that I can like deliver it to an editor. And I'm like, so like, are these guys in S tier, or are they in like, is this S minus tier? Like, I don't know what, like, the way that it was written was just like confusing to me at first. So I was just like, oh, I don't know, man. This is just like, this is bizarre. But I do think like the project was obviously rather successful overall, so I'm happy with that. But
definitely,
yeah, I'm sure it always comes with a handful of controversy as well.
I was just gonna add super quick. I totally feel you, Radar. I played against Ben in a net play tournament like 2 days ago or something, and I dropped the set in winners, so then I ended up 6-0ing him. I have to say it out loud for myself, okay? Ended up 6-0ing him at Grands, which is fine. But I was talking about it on stream. I was like, you know what? That's fine. Like Ben's really good at the game. You know, like he's a C tier player, and I said it out loud. And I was like, "Oh no! I just insulted the man. I didn't mean to. I meant it from my heart that he's really good at the game." And I called him a C tier player. It's like,
hey man, like you're passable at best. Like,
yeah, it's like the meme with you're like a second-rate duelist with a third-rate death or whatever. But he's really good.
So funny. Jeez.
Yeah, I think it's like it sounds superficial, but as people know, like with rankings, even though this isn't a ranking, again, it's not a ranking.
Right.
People use this and go like, hey, and maybe this is important to clarify because some people don't think about this. I know in the past when rankings have been brought up on Twitter, some people are like, bro, it's just a number. Like, you approach a sponsor and say like, hey, like I'm one of the top 30 Melee players in the world right now, except you can't say that. You gotta say, I'm a C tier player in North America. And like, do you think a sponsor goes like, sign me up, baby? Like no. So
dude,
I don't know. Like,
another quick thing just to piggyback off you before we get into the people is when I was talking to LG, when I first started talking to them, I had to sort of explain my rank, and it was like, people consider me a top 12, 15-ish of player in the online era, but we don't have an official ranking. Like, I did not know how to describe this to them in like an effective way. I just like presented my wins and losses.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope you guys like this. I don't
God,
know.
that must be like we talked about like marketing pitches before. That sounds awful, man. Holy crap.
It was tricky.
You're like, yeah, I am good at the game.
I swear.
Like,
you can look at that ranking.
Trust
it says
me,
like
man.
21st. No, trust. I'm better now. I swear.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I mean, I just can't get. He's a C tier player out of my head. It's like he's pretty good, man. He's a C tier.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's talk about what we got on screen first here, and that is the C tier, of course. D tier players though, with a C tier controller. Or something, whatever you have it as. But I don't know. Like, I guess we can talk about like general thoughts. Starting off with C tier, there is something that I want to kind of put on the table right away, and this was something that Ginger and myself were talking about a few moments before you joined the call, before the show, Radar, was like people who didn't make it onto this list. And I wasn't involved in actual like generation and like the panel of creating this ranking, but I did get to see it, and it was kind of like the big question marks were, number one, the kind of honorable mention that's listed on the site is Moki, which is just like ludicrous to me. But the other two people that I think absolutely should have appeared, if not in C tier, but possibly otherwise, in my opinion, of course. And if you guys have players that come to mind as well, feel free. Eddie Mexico and Swift, like both of those players, I feel like are very, very easily among this list at the very least. And we're gonna go into the other tiers, of course, and kind of like talk about thoughts of who belongs where, like if it makes sense and everything. But I just wanted to put that out there before we really dive in.
Yeah, I think like it is whenever you try to hit the discussion, particularly among the B and C tiers, because they're, like jokes aside with the Mango Zane tier, like I don't think anyone's like, who should S+ be right now? Like maybe IBW isn't in that. I think people probably would put him there. Even like that top 10, like up into A, like feels pretty solidified. So, but it's like at the lower end, it does feel like there are a lot of players that kind of get thrown in. And I don't want to like open up a whole conversation about like online versus offline rankings. But of course, when you have like a major online event like we just did, and we see a person like Moki do so well, it is always going to make moments like this a bit weird because of course they're only using IRL results. And I totally see the value in that. Again, not trying to start a whole conversation about should we be using offline stuff. But at the end of the day, we also like we can't help but go, yo, Moki's really good. So it's weird that he's like in the D tier, like arguably in this thing because he's not even on the list. Like, of course he gets the honorable mention, but there are other people. Like, I completely agree that like I think Swift had pretty good performances.
He beat HBox, man.
Yeah, like
he fucking beat
online,
HBox.
right?
It's like,
I mean, he took Mango to game 5, which like
yeah, he took all the top seeds of Summit 12 to 5 games and lost. Leffen, Zane, and or not Zane, Leffen, HBox, and Mango, like 3 top seeds for that event. It's like, how do you not put him in the running at all?
So I guess
like I don't mean it as
go,
disrespectful whatsoever, but like, yeah, you know.
Let's go around and like maybe we'll start with Ginger. Like, if there were 1 or 2 players that you were kind of surprised they're not here, or maybe feel they should be here, if you want to kind of like push it further, who kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Walt hit real hard on Eddie Mexico and Swift. Funnily enough, I just wanted to say real quick that in my Discord we were discussing. We're like, okay, there's 11 players left when the B and the C came out. There's like, okay, 11 players left. Apparently they're not doing Japan. Apparently they're not doing Europe here. It's just NA. Spoilers: AMSA will be on the list later. But yeah, we went under the assumption that AMSA wasn't going to be on the list. So we're like, who the heck could it be? We're thinking like Spark, but Spark didn't go to anything. Like, huh? Like, he was in Pakistan the whole time. So literally, like, the only things that like could have been in our brains were like, Swift, maybe. Like, you're thinking he did really well. He got tons of good results. Beat HBox. Maybe HBox is an S tier player. You don't know.
Yeah.
And then also, Toussaint, have to shout out Toussaint, also had some pretty good results. And I don't even see him on the C tier. And so, surprising to me, the people that I consider to be just really, really high-level competitors weren't even on the C tier, or weren't even given an honorable mention / hidden boss shout-out, which I almost feel like they must have done in, like, retrospect. They're like, oh, God, Moki did way too well, and he's way too upset about rankings right now. We gotta do something.
Oh, God, oh, fuck, oh, man.
yeah, exactly. But on top of that, JFlex, which I think Walt reminded me of earlier also. JFlex has been grinding, man. And dear God, I mean, his record against Ben, if anything, shows that he's just like a top-level contender. He beat Jmook at Smash World Tour, who everybody considers, and Jmook might even be somebody deserving of this list if they had maybe attended more. Like, his results are bonkers. And I'm sure it's peppered with tons of losses. As is any grinder who goes out there and participates in a bunch of tournaments. But, I'm surprised to not see those players at least acknowledged in some way. But obviously, maybe it's just these are the lists that they came up with. Maybe they didn't feel like they needed to make a million different honorable mentions. Because something that I also said to Walt before the podcast was like, well, you could have swapped out the entire C tier with 10 different people, and I'd be like, yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so like knowing some of the people who are behind it, like I think it's very clear they have a tough road ahead of them. You know, in the past it's very easy. You looked at what people went to, you looked at the results. Very easy in the sense that you have to track every fucking set they play, but like it was the data was there. You just have to collect it and extract it and interpret it, right? Now it's not so clear because like even someone like Moki, for example, like he went to Pinnacle in Vancouver and played other people. You know, he won the tournament. Of course, not nearly like a major or super major, but he won the tournament. He still kind of showed us like how good he is. And then you kind of complement that with sort of his online results, which have also been good. And it feels like, okay, clearly like he could be there, but under their criteria, like, I guess they go, well, no, we're not letting us do that. And I think that like it does make sense. It just the result leaves like a bad taste in your mouth because especially like it's not even that I'm like Canada biased, but like Sunsei, Zuppy, and Moki all talked about it. And Zuppy, I feel like, is someone who is, because he hasn't ever been on the top 100, gets ripped off in that sense because it's like I think he's clearly a top 100 player now. Like I think it would be absurd to call him not a top 100 player now. But then even like Sunsei has also improved so much as well. And I definitely feel for those guys who literally just like kind of don't have an alternative. Because I'm like friends with a lot of the people who kind of do this sort of content, I feel like it's very easy for players and kind of just the people on the sidelines to be quite critical of them. You know, like say like, oh, why didn't you write an honorable mention list of like 30 people? And it's like, okay, like, you know.
Can I just interject real quick? Sure. So quick, a joke. I was gonna be like, yeah, Zuppy's obviously top 100. He's like a D tier player, maybe E tier right now. You know?
Oh my god.
Anyway, sorry, but it's too funny not to say. Sunsei, obviously somebody who's incredibly good as well. But one thing I wanted to mention, Zuppy is an interesting case. I feel like, and this is just an interesting time to talk about it, I think, and you guys can give me your thoughts as well, is that just by the merit of participating in more tournaments, you will naturally do better in tournaments because your seed will naturally go up as long as you're improving even slightly. And with a higher seed in a tournament, your placements will be better, and also you'll be able to beat better people moving forward. Like instead of having to play Zane, maybe now you play against, None. And maybe None is a really doable win for Zuppy, but maybe Zane is literally impossible, you know? So as you start like sort of grinding up, like I would believe that if Zuppy had if you just put him and gave him my seed in some sort of supernatural, I bet he'd do really, really well. I actually think he's in a spot with a bunch of other people that are on the come up where it's just like, man, they just have to grind out the tournament format strats. Like you literally just have to play enough to where you get recognized enough, where you get a high enough seed, where you can finally play against Fiction instead of Mango. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that's what you have to do.
We all dream to play against Fiction instead of Mango, you know?
That's a super interesting concept, by the way, and we should, like, make a tournament where you can, like, bid or, like, buy someone's seed
that could
as, like, a gimmick, because
for
like...
charity?
Yeah,
for charity,
no, actually, like you could do it like how they do like draft events, like for when they did the NASB one of like drafting characters and like bid wars on that. That's kind of nuts.
That could be cool.
Side note. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think like kind of circling back a little bit to like someone like JFlex. I said this in the pre-show of just like he is someone I just feel like has been getting hosed nonstop, like when it comes to rankings, because it's like he's always in everyone's discussions of like he's really good, he deserves to have a spot or like a nod in some capacity, and then doesn't get it, and I feel bad. And I actually saw he tweeted like after the B and C tier came out, which I guess was kind of like expectedly where he thought he was going to be. And he was just like, congrats to everyone that made the MPGR rankings, you deserve it, with like the little like hands up emoji. Like it was so nice. And then like and someone was just like, on the bright side, like a lot of them are going to be easy to upset. And he was like, that's true. So it's like, I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword in that way of like, yeah, you get your recognition now, but then like someone like JFlex, someone like Eddie Mexico, like Swift, like they're going to get their comeuppance then, like because they're not on it. And then that hopefully, from a narrative sense, makes getting onto a future ranking or one that isn't like a contenders or who to look out for list all the more worthwhile and even more convincing when that ranking does come around.
Right.
I see someone in chat saying that Keizu doesn't deserve to make it. I don't know what.
Ooh, Etos. Yeah, we should listen to what he has to say.
So good.
Toss, man. He's got some words.
Keizu is so good. I feel like one that stood out to me is like oh really, like was it Meds? Like I guess Meds just had really good offline results, like at main stage, I believe, and the West Smash World Tour finals. I think he did well, but like that wouldn't, if I were to make this list, like that wouldn't be one of the first names I'd pull up. I mean, Med's been the talk of the town for not even being 30, but for being 30.
He should have had the 30 tier, man.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Yeah, but that's one that comes to mind. I definitely think Keizu is is in that top 30 thing right now. I believe. I think he's a very, very, very good player. But
yeah, I actually already had this discussion with Etos in my chat a few days ago, where I was like, dude, Keizu is so freaking good. Like, you don't even know how good he is. He's so good. That's how good he is. But I don't really know his results. I didn't follow them that closely. I know through talking to Kyle, he was sort of like disappointed with his Smash World Tour performance. Not exactly sure who he lost to. I think maybe he lost to J-Mook and a couple other people that he wasn't expecting to, which I know is disappointing for him. One of the things that this is just kind of a separate note as well. I really like, and maybe it's personal bias, I like rewarding people who go to a lot of things and participate in a lot of events. So when we're talking about JFlex, just almost coming back to that real quick, it's like, man, you put in, Albert and Kalamazoo and Sora in this list. Obviously, Sora's sort of like this case where he lives in goddamn Australia. What's he gonna do? But JFlex entered so many events, man, and gave himself so many opportunities to lose and put himself on the line. And to not get something just feels weird. Even though I know Keizu is incredible, it's like, dang, maybe his spot should be taken by somebody like JFlex. Yeah, but I don't know.
We've talked about that, and that's like we could have you on for an entire second episode about this. I feel like, because we actually talked about this with Melee Stats on, I think it was either Waiting for Game, or it was on Waiting for Game, of like, I'm of the opinion that if we're to do something like this, just make if we know that there are certain super majors planned in advance, and obviously this is easier said than done. I'm not a TO, and I greatly respect the job that those people do, especially the very thankless job of being a rankings panelist, of just like putting yourself out there to get shot in the face.
Really thankless.
Yeah, like you're literally saying like, yeah, I enjoy pain and being harassed online. So yeah, like they're doing God's work for the scene to be able to put something like this together, knowing that they will be harassed for it. But like, from my perspective, is like, if you know, and events know this far in advance, for instance, like Genesis and Big House, obviously those like big ticket items are booked a year in advance easily. So you can plan out a curated schedule that will say, this is your 2022 regular season. Here are all of the events that will count towards rankings. And then like, it kind of, in my opinion at least, and if there's a better solution to this, I'm always open for a discussion when it comes to that. But like, it kind of resolves both problems that you brought up, of like, the people that are grinding can still go to as many events as they want without like fear of dropping rank because they were fucking shit-faced and like played young Link against someone's like Bowser, but like the Bowser player happened to be like this up-and-comer hidden boss who was also like a really good Marth. And then like, when they went to a tournament, now they're seated higher because their Bowser beat some drunk idiot Ness or something like that. And then it also like appeases the people from like the spectator side and people who are waiting for rankings, because they're just like, I know what to expect. Like, I can watch this event and then like come up with a list on my own, because I know what events are going to be counted well in advance of the year. I know that's kind of like off the topic of kind of like who is in C tier, but I just wanted to kind of comment on what you had brought up there.
Yeah, I actually did a not really a podcast. I put out a video of a discussion I had with the Crimson Blur, the notorious Crimson Blur. That's a great word to describe Crimson Blur. But anyway, so Blur and I were having a discussion, and he believes, and I'm on board, is do you guys follow tennis at all?
No. Particularly.
The way that they do their rankings is like so perfect.
I do kind of know how they do rankings, because my friend made a structure for that when I was in college. So I think I know where you're coming at with this. But
yeah, so certain tournaments, depending on the size and the prestige of the tournament, have a certain amount of points that you get, and you, depending on your placement in the tournament, you'll get a certain amount of points, and like, you have to defend those points as if you're like a champion of that, Masters 1000 event. There's 1,000 points. So it incentivizes the people who won that tournament to go back and play more. Because the reason rankings should even exist should be to incentivize people to play more and get better.
Yes.
So this like ATP system is so good. It would be awesome, like you said, knowing how much a tournament is going to be worth at some point. Because we know Genesis and Big House and like Gommel maybe is in that list too. Summit. Maybe you're thinking, okay, these are like the Grand Slams or Master 1000 events. We can easily like label this as that at that point. But then
Ultimate
there's regional
kind of does
events,
that
maybe
too.
worth less. Yeah, exactly. But then it would also incentivize people to go and grind a ton. Imagine the people if every regional event had some amount of points up for grabs. Like, okay, well then you're going to get a ton of people going to Midwest regionals, like, grinding, traveling to the East Coast, getting as many tournaments, as many points as possible, so they could be as high as possible on the rankings, which incentivizes people to play the game and rewards people for playing it. It seems great.
Yeah, I think it's a good system in some ways. It just runs into problems with like, how does things like Summit work, where it's not everyone is able to go, and just sort of like any situation where there's like it rewards people for going more, but it also sort of punishes people who can't go or certain stuff like that.
International tournaments are huge too. Not everybody can just go to Europe to go to a tournament. Like, what's JFlex gonna do? He needs the points, but like, sorry, he doesn't maybe he doesn't have a passport. He doesn't have thousands of dollars to spend on flights and hotels.
Exactly.
God dang the UK.
It's as a funny anecdote, kind of similar to that, because that just like unlocked an old memory of mine when I was writing the Apex 2015 documentary. They did like a points-based circuit as qualifiers and like flyouts for people to go to Apex, and I remember I wrote a line in it for that like reason of like, oh, like, what's JFlex gonna do? He can't go to like Europe all the time, whatever. Mewtwo King got the most points like by virtue of just like going to more things than anybody else, and it's like, cool, that's awesome that you could do that, but like, you should never be punished for going to more things. I feel like it's like, and I think Toss says it in chat of like, let's value bad losses more than good wins. Sure, I agree with that, somewhat, for sure, but like, don't punish attendance. Because why?
It's just
like,
tricky,
then you're gonna have people not come.
You're always gonna have to trade off some things. Like, there's always gonna be people that get like left behind with certain systems. I think like there's just like with any of these kind of systems, and I'm sure the kind of melee stats people, the panelists, can kind of articulate this well, where like it is a trade-off. I think like even looking at like the online offline stuff, and again, like, I don't want to open up a huge can of worms there, but I think like it is literally impossible to act as if like online results don't matter, because like, that if you were to rank Moki tomorrow, in the back of your mind, it's like, yeah, he got third at LCS 4. Like, there's no way. Like, even if you go, but we're not counting that. Then you think like, so who's better, Moki or blank? And you go, well, he only lost to Mango. Like, it just has to happen.
Yeah.
You can't stop thinking about it. So that's where it gets really tricky.
So my question, sorry, because I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure they didn't count LACS, not because it was online, but because it was like past the date where they were counting the rankings, right?
Yeah. But the way I understand it is that like most of it was based in offline stuff. Like, I think it was officially based in offline results. And then like, of course, they might go, yeah, I mean, but like, blank lost to blank and this, you know what I mean? But I think if you look at the
entirely based off of offline results, though, right? Because like Ben is in C tier.
No.
That's what makes it tricky, right? Like those guys still have some offline events. Like Ben, I have to pull up each one.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to make it a whole thing, but I was just curious.
No. Like,
no, this is good.
Well, that's the thing. It's a good point. Like, so what has Ben done? Well, he did the NA East regional finals and he got 9th there, which was a pretty good result. Smash World Tour Championships went 0-4, not so great of a result. Riptide, he went 9th, pretty good result.
H-Box and somebody else, yep.
Yeah, lost to Logan in H-Box. So, like, some of those are decent, and then he has a bunch of like kind of random like locals and stuff throughout the kind of summer period. But yeah, it doesn't have that many results. I'm sure they think about like the kind of, I don't want to say peak of Ben because he's still improving, but like the time where like Ben was sort of a hot stock, you know, like where it was
Yep.
like, oh man, like his value's rising. He's beating all these people. Suddenly people are going, oh, Ben, now I know who that is, kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's impossible for them not to be valuing that, even if officially, I think if Moki's not on the list, officially they are valuing online results significantly less / not at all, right? Like there's no other way for him not to be on the list.
Yeah, probably.
So, but then those results end up mattering anyways, is sort of my argument. And I think they know that too. It's just like, you know, it's just tricky.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. But should we go on to the B tier or
yeah. I guess no. I was gonna say like any kind of closing thoughts on specific players, but it seems like we've kind of hit all our bases when it comes to this, and also propose some good ideas for tournament ranking structure in the future. So at Melee Stats. I'm kidding.
Yeah, at Melee Stats. Last thing I'll say. Hidden boss is a really weird term to use. Everybody knows who Moki is. Okay?
Yeah.
just say
honorable
mention's better. Hidden boss, he's not hidden. Everybody, he has one of those popular streams out there right now. What are you doing? Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
All right, let's take a look. B tier. We got there's some thoughts about this, and we're gonna go obviously to A tier next, which spoiler alert is where you are, Ginger, and I know we're gonna get to your opinions on that as well. There's some people here that maybe I'm like crazy, but I feel like deserve to be in A tier, and I want to hear like what you guys think. Again, like kind of similar to C tier of. Are there people who you think should be kind of knocked down a peg to C tier? Are there people who should be pushed up to A tier? Are people Goldilocks right smack in the middle of where they should be for a tiered contender list like this? And I guess we kind of covered potential missing people with C, so we can just talk about, I guess, like above and below factors.
Yeah. So I think that I look at this list and I'm like, holy cow, I'm ranked above these people. That's my first thought. Sorry, just that's what I think because they're so good. I see None on this list and I'm like, None's not an A tier player. You're kidding me.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about None's results. One thing I can say is I know that SUJ kind of was slacking, especially towards the end of his online career and then transitioning into the offline career. At Low Tide City, which I don't know, stupid little tournament. Some loser won it. Anyway, SUJ lost to SFOP and somebody else I can't even recall. I'm sure it was somebody good. Gatsu, maybe. And it's like, dang, this is Johnny, like top 10 in the world Johnny. So I think that his placement in B tier like makes some sense. Obviously has done incredible things throughout the year. Obviously still an incredible player. Literally entered an online tournament like a week and a half ago, beat SFAT twice or something. Like, whew, holy cow. Happy for Gatsu to get recognition. Happy that Fiction's Falco's getting recognition. Face Roll is my favorite Sheik. Yeah, I don't know how Axe actually did in terms of his results throughout the year. But I feel like my brain tells me he could be somebody that could easily be knocked down a peg into the C tier.
So I was thinking this exact thing. Because Axe had just like, I'm not gonna mince words, like a pretty terrible online after coming off of like a pretty kind of the peak of his competitive career in a lot of ways, and like kind of leading up to 2020. And so I was like, I feel like they're having Axe like a little high here. So I pulled up the results. Smash World Tour, he got 25th, not so great. Where it says Smash World Tour Championships. There's two Smash World Tour Championships results, and one is 5th and one is 25th. So I'm a little confused by that. We're gonna skip that one. At main stage, he got 7th, losing to IBDW and Wizrobe. Not bad losses at all.
Yeah.
He lost to this guy Ginger at Low Tide City. A little embarrassing, but like it happens.
Two sets straight, didn't even win a set.
Exactly. At Riptide, he got 5th and lost to SFAT and Secrets, which is
that was rough.
Yeah, but like even still, like
what
5th,
a run.
Yeah, not bad. And then Smash Summit 11, he got 7th. So I don't know, like, does that justify the placement? I think like Axe is definitely one of those people who I think really benefits from Legacy, and I feel like I don't give people as much credit with Legacy, and I think some other people do, where they're like, "Yo, but it's Axe, like he's at any moment he's gonna pop off, man." However, I do feel that way with Hungrybox. Where like when Hungrybox was doing really badly, I was like, I think eventually he'll unplug his Bluetooth headset and just kind of get back.
Like something's got to give. Like eventually,
yeah, exactly. He has, right? Like I feel like he has, and that's why when you watch a tournament with HBox, you go like, "Yo, he could win this." But I don't feel that way with Axe. So I don't know. I also I'm not a Pikachu believer at all. Like I think he's got to pick up a secondary to kind of reach.
Mean, we talked about that with Swift too.
Yeah,
but yeah. Okay. Am I like crazy? And neither of you brought this up. Am I crazy for thinking that Aklo should be an A tier? Like, is that stupid? Because, like, and that's not even, like, New York bias. It's just, like, Aklo had a really good online year, especially if we're considering that.
I think I look at the people. So, like, if you say to me, is Aklo in not the first tier, not the second tier, not the third tier, but the fourth tier of players, I go, oh, that's kind of weird. Or, like, is he a B tier player? Oh, that's kind of weird. But then when I look at the actual names in the list, do I go, like, is Aklo definitively better than None? Like, I don't know. And I think None is one of those people who is probably one of the bigger outliers. I think he's also like Canadian person who kind of got shafted a little bit. Makes sense. But yeah, is Aklo better than S2J? Like, I don't know. I think it's also worth bringing up with Ginger's point that I think S2J wasn't playing a bit because of hand problems. I
heard about that. Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure
you literally, as a panelist, do you even think about that, or are you just like, well, they entered the tournament?
Well, I more mean like if he was pumping, like I think you do have to think about that because like, it's one of those things where like, if you start thinking about that, are you going to be like, yo man, well, Mango had COVID during LCS, like he didn't test positive, but if he sent me in a rapid test, I would have knocked a couple losses off of it. Like, no, of course not. Sure. But my point being, long-winded way of saying, like, I look at the people in this list, and every single person is an excellent, excellent player, and Aklo is an excellent player as well. So if he should be higher, there might be an argument for it, but I don't feel like he's significantly underranked if he is.
No, I mean,
because it feels like these players are in that tier of like, damn, they're really good. They could go on a freaking run. Like,
I think against this list, like it definitely feels comfy. Like the two people that I wouldn't have been upset to see in A tier were None and Aklo when I saw this released. But it was just like, I think for the reason that it's like Aklo has such really good wins. In my like wins over HBox, like constant first places at nightclubs or second places, but like just overall like very solid performances online. And I'm wondering kind of, and this is more in like methodology side of how PGstats handles this. Like I'm wondering how much getting 13th at Summit 11 and then like not making top 8 at Smash World Tour like really hurt him in that prospect. That's the only reason I bring him up.
I'm sure it did, because it's all about the offline stuff with this, right? Like if they look at like nightclub dominance, which that's one of the most stacked locals in the whole scene, but it's still like it's not a Smash World Tour, it's not a LACS if it was an in-person event. And so in spite of the amazing wins he has online, and I think he is just a great player, they probably do go, but he got 9th at Smash World Tour and kind of underperformed at Summit, and like that's got to be the rationale, right?
Yeah, I guess like kind of rolling all the way back to before we had gotten into this list, like if it was formatted in a way of like pluses and minuses also, like I would put Aklo and None in a B+ tier then and be like, there, we're good. Like call it a day. Because it's like I can see those players in particular, at least just given the the 9 players or 8 players, what is that, 9? Yeah, 9 players we have on this list so far. Those two in particular stand out to me. Of people who it's like, yeah, like enough can kind of push them over the edge, but like, what are your qualifiers at that point?
I will say, just real quick, looking at the list of wins and losses that Axe had offline that Etos posted in chat, I mean, definitely a lot of wins on there that I overlooked. Like I even said when I was talking about Axe, I don't know his results terribly well, but when I think about the year, I think Oh man, Axe did way worse than he was supposed to.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, that looked like tons of good wins when I just looked at that, and not that many bad losses, other than like Secrets and maybe one other person. Aklo, I feel the same way. I feel like decently consistent. I do recall though, and I totally forgot, he did pretty poorly at Summit 11.
Yes.
I don't think he won a set while he was there.
He
if I
won
recall
one.
correctly.
Everyone
Did he?
at 11.
Yeah, everyone won
set.
one.
Really?
Aklo beat Swift, if I'm not well, no.
Was it Swift?
Yeah, I think
thought
so.
it was like,
Wait.
who did Free Palestine beat?
Free Palestine was at Summit 12, but he beat Kadoran.
Oh. Okay, then Aklo was at Summit 11 or Summit 12?
11.
11.
Okay, then he might not have beat anyway because it was Summit 12.
Oh yeah, it was 12 that had everyone got a win. Yeah, that's my mistake.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think he might have just lost to everybody, which if they really did take offline a lot more seriously, which again, Radar keeps touching on it, like seems to be the case, like whew, that might hurt.
Yeah, and that's like a whole thing in itself too of like where do you kind of like distribute your weight on like online versus offline, and like Radar and myself have talked about this I think countless times with many episodes on the,
That's why
on
I
the
say, like,
quarterly
let's not
mix-up
go back
episodes
to
that
it
we
too
have.
much.
But like just
Yeah.
something to keep in mind of just like I wonder where panelists are at, and like what kind of, it doesn't like concern me for things like this, but it kind of like raises an eyebrow a little bit of like if those weight distributions aren't consistent across panelists, because then it's like you get like one person that's like, oh well, this win at Get On My Line was really good, and it much better so than getting 13th with 0 wins at Summit 11 or like whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think we have to go super deep onto it, but just like kind of going off of that train of thought a little bit there.
Definitely.
It's tricky. I think at the thing that Aklo has at least is like he's on the list, you know. He's not like in a ridiculously low tier, like maybe he's A tier. Like I'm sure I'm sure Swift's at home watching this being like, look man, he's on the list, okay? Like
Yeah.
like I was at Summit, you know. So I think like I don't know. I think this is a good tier. This is one of I think the more accurate tiers, and I think it's time to segue into tier A.
Yeah, this is where we really get into the nitty gritty, huh? A tier. So first and foremost, up at the top of that list is a name you probably know. I guess like the first question I want to ask you about this, Ginger, is do you feel that this is like a fair placement, like, or an evaluation of where you're at right now?
You know, I feel like it's pretty fair. I was scrolling when I saw the B and C tier, and I thought as I was scrolling past the B tier, I was like, oh, so I'm B tier. Not realizing that it was alphabetized, by the way. It's all done by alphabetical. So I was scrolling through, and I was like, there's Johnny, and like, there's none, and like, okay, I'm coming up here any second. And then I got to the end of the page, and I was like, huh? Not like, huh, like I don't deserve it in any way. I really do think that my results probably reflect this. But I am like literally in my mind on the fringe of being, I'm probably like the last person on here. Like if I had to consider it, unless you're counting online super seriously, which they pretty obviously didn't, then HBox would be lower than me, I think. Maybe still an A tier because of how well he's done offline and all that kind of stuff. But like, I believe that my results are right along with all these players. I think it's really close to SFAT's results in particular. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is fair.
Yeah, I think I kind of see what you're saying. As someone who's approaching it with obviously less bias, I would have probably been like, yeah, it's like in between the A and the B. Although like I'm going to be much less familiar with your wins and losses than you are going to be. So
Sure.
yeah, just on a guess there. So I think this is interesting too. I think like even like the alphabetized thing, like they got to stress that because like
yeah, absolutely they should.
Because that's not the case with the final tier, right? Unless I is before M, right? Am I A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I,
there's an S plus tier, but there's an S like plus number 1 tier. It's a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, my folder
I'm
structure
not
looks
joking.
really
There's
weird.
an S plus and there's S plus number 1.
Yep.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
where the alphabet gets different there.
Yeah. So I think this tier is pretty good. I think it's on a like just a kind of like general what's cool for the scene. It's good to see HBox kind of having return to form because he was another person where like definitely my perception for a while. Like it was dark days. I'm not even really an HBox fan, but it was just like you want HBox to be doing well. Like he was
He's
losing
good for
to
the game.
everybody. It felt like yeah, he's good for the game exactly. Like you need someone that just like even people who like despise HBox, which is not me. Like I just am not like super into his like he's not my favorite player, but I was like really bummed out seeing him lose all the time because I was thinking like this is like one of the kind of legends of the game. And it's really cool to see him return to form in that way. I really am excited to see Polish on here. I feel like Polish is in a weird spot because kind of like the opposite of Axe, where Polish benefited very much from like really, really good offline performances. But I thought Polish was really, really, really good before those performances. Not actually as good as this. Like I was like, damn, like when I watched them play Smash World Tour, like what the fuck?
Hang on. I just want to say I literally predicted Polish's placement at Smash World Tour, and I think I said it on commentary, and I was like, Polish will probably get third, and no one will understand why. But like commentators and like people who like like the like Edwin Buddings and the Wheats and the Melee Stats folks of the world will be like, yeah, that makes sense. But like. They're literally amazing, like so good, but I feel like no one talks about them. So maybe that like from a public standpoint, like public facing eye, Polish is a little bit peculiar, but it's still like they're insane. And when you look at their kind of resume of the year in terms of like what was I guess considered for this ranking tier, totally makes sense for them to be here. I mean, look at the graphic that they have for them on the actual website is third at Smash World Tour Finals, third at Smash World Tour NA East, first at SmashCon Fall Fest. Like that's an insane resume already.
I also think worth pointing out because we don't have the graphic where it's like all the tiers side by side, but like the top 10 or so players is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different unique characters. Like
it's crazy.
Yeah, like there's like quite a lot of character diversity on this list, and anyone who plays Melee a lot and talks to non-Melee fans, they're like, oh, isn't that the game where like it's only Fox, right? Like he's like the best, like definitively. It's like apparently our not a ranking suggests very clearly otherwise, that there is like a big diversity in the game character wise. I remember Blur at one point tweeting that like just every character that's not like the kind of top 3 or 4 are just kind of fading away. Clearly not the case. We're seeing Polish with Peach, HBox kind of returning to form, Amsa doing amazing things. So well, not to spoil the next section, but even among this list, like only one Fox, every single character is different.
Yeah, that's
all solo mains as
so
well.
Nuts.
So nuts. it's incredible. I just wanted to say as well, just because I have to get it out there, that I love Polish. Big Polish fan here. Glad to see Polish getting recognition. Midwest will take Polish. Thank you. Very good. Right between Midwest and East Coast,
Yeah.
But yeah, Polish doesn't get a lot of recognition. But I feel as though they're just not very active on socials, at least as much as like a lot of the other figures. I think Polish like literally did a test stream like once 2 months ago or something, and literally hasn't streamed since. It's like, well, I don't even know if they care really that much about what the community thinks about them or how involved they are in terms of how much people talk about them. But dear God, do they deserve recognition? And I'm glad that they're on a high placement on the list.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
man,
definitely.
The looks like I think I got clowned on. I think I said they would get 4th or 3rd, and
Really?
chat like tore me up. And they were like, "You're an idiot," like all this stuff, and I'm just sitting there like T-posing at the end because I'm just like, "You're all dumb." Like I don't get it. Yeah, Polish, amazing. This list I think is pretty comfy. I think most of the folks here would be in agreement of like this is a good spot for them to be in for sure. And you're in here too, which is awesome. So it's great that we.
My
have
only
you
feeling is like
represented.
maybe this tier could be bigger.
Yes.
But the thing is like
Who do you
it's
put in
very
there?
easy to just sort of go like this tier should be bigger, right? When you don't have like a fucking spreadsheet of all the results and like you could literally put like numerical values on like the different players and be like, hey, I mean, the wins say no, that they're not in the same tier. So I was just as an anecdote because I think it's worth bringing up. I was speaking with Edwin Budding today about like a different project that we might work on together, and he mentioned like what other things he's working on, and one of them was following every melee result and match and tracking it. And I was like, "Geez, that just sounds like a lot of work." So
Yeah.
I
will say about this tier is that my intuition when I see it and when I think about it, I know I'm on it, so it makes it fucking weird. But when I see it, I'm like, this just feels right. When I think about the players, I see the players behind it. I'm like, okay, there's like a kind of a line there. I see the players ahead of it. I'm like, sorry to fucking spoil. But the players ahead of it, I'm like, you know what? They all had significantly better results, and they were more consistent than these people. Makes sense to me. So yeah, I feel really good about it. Oh, also, Etos keeps bringing up that I'm 3-1 on Polish for the year. If I didn't side B off the stage last stock, okay, it would be 4-0. Okay, Polish doesn't have a shot against me. Okay, bring it. But anyway, I love Polish.
Oh my gosh! All right, moving on.
right.
Let's get to S tier 1 _ 1, and this is where Ginger, you got thrown for a loop a little bit just because of I guess regional discrepancies, but I don't think it's a surprise that AMSA is here. It's more so just are we considering Japan or not was kind of the big question.
They had a section on their thing that says the FAQs. What about Japan? Is literally a question. It says, we reached out to Japanese TOs, and due to the amount of uncertainty surrounding offline play, the Japanese melee and ultimate scenes both requested to not be included in these rankings. I'm like, okay, well, AMSA's not there. But that's not the case.
I mean, he is going to be moving to Vancouver, so maybe they've already been like,
I thought about that too, yeah.
Yeah. I think this felt good, this tier. Plup is one of those people where it feels like I'm not confident that he's for sure in the same tier. Or AMSA, I don't know. This one is a bit weird.
How are you going to talk about the world champion like that?
No. It's not undervaluing.
I know.
Above.
Yeah.
It's above. Like the one, like if anything, I kind of wonder if AMSA is ranked a little too high. I feel like winning against Mango and stuff so that's going to push them up. I guess when it gets to the really high tiers, I look at them and go like, this person is going to like win in a huge tournament. And I think AMSA like can win. But if you ask me, like, between these three people, who is the most likely to win a tournament, I feel like I would go like, oh, yeah, like Plup could have won LACS. Like, it was completely possible that he could have won it. Wizrobe, again, like, oh, yeah, Wizrobe has won a bunch of events. AMSA, it feels like just isn't there as much for me. Am I alone in this thinking?
No, for me, it's like AMSA has all the wins he needs separately, but just like hasn't put them all together. Has beaten HBox, has beaten Mango, has beaten Zane. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, of course. Has beaten like literally everybody, but it's like they just haven't won a large event yet. And if you care about that, then that's obviously I think that's a good point to bring up.
So this is like a question of like, do panelists value like tournament results or like where you end up in bracket versus head to head? Because like AMSA is a case, in my opinion, where his head-to-heads are fucked up. Like they look so good, but he's never won like anything, and he gets and he's cursed with the of getting 5th at every tournament.
One thing I want to bring up real quick about AMSA, and I hate this because, dear God, I love Amsa, one of the nicest people in the whole universe, incredible at the game, pushes Yoshi of all characters. But sometimes Amsa's biggest results come from summits. Living in Japan doesn't get to go to everything, especially during this sort of time. Really, a lot of results coming from summits, and you can't have that bad of losses at Summit,
Yeah.
And like he's good enough to like not lose to the Free Palestines or the Soras or I don't mean to put the C tier players. Oh, save myself there. Good enough to not really lose to the C tier players very often. And then we'll rack up some good wins and some good losses and then call it a day, go home to Japan. But like, man, I would love to see just like the whole entirety of 2022. Amsa goes to every single Super National. What happens? Where are his wins and losses? Does he lose to secrets like Axe every now and then? I don't actually know. I'd love to see them.
And big respects to Amsa, because I'm getting the feeling that Amsa's motivation for wanting to move to BC, to wanting to move to North America, is to answer that question as well. Credits to him for being kind of like a hungry competitor, it seems, because that's not easy, moving to a country where they don't speak kind of the same language, where BC is very beautiful, guys, but like it still is. I really want to see that, because I agree, like that's the other thing, is you're put in this like isolated sort of special circumstances kind of environment. And of course we put Leffen in those same kind of situations, obviously not on this list. And then like you said earlier in the episode, like maybe it looks like it is like the Leffen Mango Saint tier, very, very, very good player. So I don't know. I think Amsa is the only one that kind of stands out here, but of course no one on this podcast is about to call Amsa bad. No one is not going to call him like an amazing player. Like clearly a contender. I do think though, like this might be a weakness of like, I imagine the methodology of this is like looking at head-to-heads, looking at like wins and losses. And Amsa, he has those kind of wins and those losses. Like you said, like you could imagine with the wins he has, the first place event that he won, and yet he doesn't have that. And I still feel like that kind of matters to me, like just because there is something about like winning in grand finals, winning in like those tense situations rather than just taking a set versus an amazing player. What do you guys think about that kind of thought?
Sorry, I guess I'll talk first. I used to be a panelist for the top 100. I used to do that until I realized it was only pain. And I was a regional panelist for Michigan for like 4 years or something. So I actually have a lot of experience with this sort of thing. Not saying that nobody here does or anything, but I don't care at all about whether or not you won the tournament. Maybe you beat somebody twice. Like maybe when Zane won Shine that one time, maybe he beat Mango twice in a row. You got 2 Mango wins? Holy cow, that's crazy. Instead of 1 Mango win, that's great. Instead of 1 Mango win and 2 losses, you just have 2 wins. Wow, very cool. But the prestige of like winning the tournament, when I look at my spreadsheet, I don't go, oh, and he has 2 Mango wins. Oh, and I have to remember he did win the tournament when that happened. Like I just say, okay, he has 2 Mango wins, and then I compare it to everything else.
Yeah.
But when I talk to every other panelist, they were all like, yeah, but he won Shine though. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, but like, come on, man. But like everybody cares about that. It seems. I don't, but it seems a lot of panelists do.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards caring more. I can see the counter argument. And I think, like, to me, it just feels like there's something about, like, so thinking about, say, how this is obviously very different from winning a tournament, but Zane has talked in, like, interviews about, like, feel like I'm not that great in, like, game 5s. Like, I feel like that some of that game 5 energy for Zane is happening in grand finals, like because Zane is such a good player that what he's really saying is also like the pressure of that kind of final boss in the event. Like Zane's not going to game 5 in like, round 1 pools or something. Right. So like, is that part of that? Like if he says I'm struggling in game 5s, like presumably because of mental pressure and stuff, is part of that because it's like getting all the way. And then if that is the case, then doesn't that mean that for at least some players, there's value in like am I about to win this event, as opposed to am I going to beat Mango twice? You know,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't. That's a subjective thing, though, right? Imagine None is up there in grand finals of a tournament, right? Like he's gonna be like, I don't know if anybody remembers this in NorCal. I just mentioned None. Now I'm transitioning again. Follow me, okay? In NorCal, they put heart rate monitors on a bunch of different players when they entered a local, and they put a heart rate monitor on Silent Spectre. And in game like 5 last stock situations, his heart rate went down. And it's like, huh? What?
Wait, you have to link this to me later. I have
That's
not even
so
heard
funny.
of this. That's
It's dope.
crazy.
But so Silent Spectre, just like the chillest dude. He doesn't even care. He's just gonna go out and do his thing. And like if None is up there, right? Like he's probably just like chilling. The other person might be freaking out, you know, and he ends up beating them or something. But it's so subjective, like the weight of this in someone's head, that I don't know how to put that subjective idea into a ranking, especially when like a lot of times the people who are doing the rankings are like outside observers who maybe haven't been in that game-winning grand final situation that often. Because honestly, if I'm there, I mean, I won Low Tide City. I consider that a major. Whether or not you do, I don't care. I really was so honed in on the melee that I didn't really think for a second, am I about to win the event? I never did. But if a panelist thinks that I thought that, should that count? Like, hey guys, count my axe wins even better because I won. Like, I don't know. I'm down for them to just count it as 2 axe wins and move on.
I mean, they're also sitting there thinking, this guy thinks Falco's the best character, so we gotta take a couple points there, knock a couple points up there. You know, like it does affect.
True.
I feel like something like that is less about like, oh, like were they stressed out during the tournament, and more just like, were they able to catch lightning in a bottle multiple times in a set? And like the case in point that we're going to get into, I think it's probably a good point to kind of pivot into the following tier, because I know Tossed in the chat, it has a lot to say about this one. So I'm just going to let them start furiously typing on their keyboard in advance as we start transitioning over. But I think the player that comes to mind when you know, we consider something like this is Cody. And it's the sense of like, Cody isn't in S+ tier on this listing because like he got really stressed out and his mental game is really good now. Like Cody got put in S+ tier because, and I feel like this is just paraphrasing of perhaps how certain panelists were thinking of the situation. Not necessarily a tournament placement being ranked higher than individual head-to-head wins, but the fact that he was able to take wins on both Zane and Mango at the same event, perhaps that's ranked or rated a little bit differently than just having solo head-to-head wins against each of those players. And I do think that getting both of those wins, especially for a person like Cody who had never beaten Zane and was won in like some absurd number against Mango, having beaten Mango in like at like a Genesis or something like that, like years ago, or like some random event, having those pair of wins at the same tournament is way more valuable than just getting those 2 wins separately and not winning the tournament. So like, yeah. And then you get into like you were saying, Ginger, of a lot of that gets into really subjective territory, which can be really dangerous when you're trying to make kind of like a robust listing like this. But I really do think that having those wins in the same tournament, like if he got like a win on Mango at Summit 11 and then like a win on Zane at Summit 12, like we'd be talking about a very different story at this point.
Yeah, what I will say is that I hear what you're saying and I understand you. I just have like a personal like, I just don't agree. Like if I made a ranking, I just probably wouldn't weigh those things.
No, yeah, I don't think I would either. I'm just trying to like get into the mind of someone who might.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. Exactly. I'm saying I hear you. That makes sense. Perfectly.
We're just getting a preview of what Drug Fox said to Ginger during that message. Like, I hear what you're saying. Maybe not the best idea, but I totally get what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
The one thing, so I don't really think this, but I know there's going to be some people, we've seen some chat responses and stuff, is IBDW in the Mango Zane tier? Is the Summit 12 performance justification enough for IBDW to go there? Like, yeah, maybe I even do kind of think it a bit. I don't know. Like, I think IBDW is the clear number 3, so that's why I don't have an issue with it. But I don't know if I feel like definitively like, yeah, you know, that the major threats at any given event right now are Mango. Like, what do you guys think?
I super agree. That's why I see this list and I'm like, oh yeah, Cody's like number 3, so like duh, Mango Zane IBDW. I see it on a list, so I'm like, okay, that looks fine to me. But I mean, Summit 12 just like isn't enough for me. Yeah, to like put them in the same tier. I honestly, one of the cool things about the tiering system, and something that Fiction tweeted, is like, I actually like this is paraphrasing Fiction. He was like, I actually like the tier system because it's kind of what we all think, right? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of amorphous. We're all shifting. Everybody's improving, and everybody's skill is a range, right? Like you have, you know, your worst days, your best days. So like, okay, we kind of consider these people in a tier. But when I think about this tier, if I think about it as a tier, I think Mango Zane. I don't really feel like Cody belongs there. But he is the number 3, so like my brain just goes back and forth the whole time. Yeah.
See, like I feel pretty much exactly the same because I used to see people like, because you know, people like harass the shit out of top players, but people would be like, you know, just harping on Cody for like, you're not number 3, like you're delusional if you think so, like, you know, you got to back up your results for it, even though like I'm sitting there on my couch being like, what are you guys talking about? Like he's clearly number 3. I feel like the results showed everything. And then, of course, he wins Smash Summit 12, and it's like, okay, great. But, and I'm looking at the PGstats, and it says that he has 1st for Smash Summit 12 and then 5th for Smash Summit 12. So I want to see how they're working this, because there's like literally 2 Smash Summit 12s on the chart. But derailing myself for a bit, yeah, like I do think there's a bit of a separation. You know, we quote Fiction already with that tier thing. He had a different tweet, and we even kind of touched on this earlier, where it was something like, Cody beats Zane in 1 set in their most recent set, and then all of a sudden people go like, he might be the favorite to win against Zane, even though like he's lost the last 9 times or whatever. Yeah. And there's some truth in that. There's also truth that like, you know, you finally get that win and the momentum starts going, you know. But I don't know. Walt, you know, what do you think about all this?
I mean, like, I love Cody. Like I was
like
hanging out
Panda
with him.
Side, you know,
I was at his house like a couple weeks ago. So I want to tread with caution here, but I don't know. I think just like objectively speaking, and like as an analytical mind of sorts in this game, I don't think Cody should be in specifically this tier. No. However, it's hard for me to put him in like A tier, like if we're gonna drop him down like one whole level, and this is where like your suggestion of like segmenting a little bit more is better. And I think Tost also said it in chat too, of like put Cody in S+ tier, and then Mango and Zane are in double S tier, like, you know, super S tier.
The Mango Zane tier. It just needs to be called like that's
and it's like, I think that's fair too, but it's like, it's hard to say, like, at least in my opinion, Cody shouldn't be in this tier, but he should be in A tier, because I don't think that's totally fair. Even like,
I mean, S tier, right? This is S+ and like the tier below.
In S tier. That's what I meant. It's hard for me to justify that, and it's like, I think maybe like if we were to compare people from S tier or to S tier to this outlier of sorts, if you're going to call it that, you have like Plup and you have Wizzy. Well, I mean, all 3 of them actually. Like, I guess I could see it, but it's like, it's hard for me to say like, this is the same level based on straight up head-to-heads. Again, which I think is the big value prop for people on the panels creating these lists.
Can I just say a couple things?
Absolutely.
Great. So, the one thing that was weird to me when I was scrolling through this on my phone or my desktop, whichever one it was that the way it's actually like put onto the page, because we know Mango is their clear number one. They put Mango as number one. Is that it's not Mango Zane tier plus IBDW. It's the Zane IBDW tier, and then there's Mango, which that felt extra weird to me.
Yes.
Like I can see them as like a 1, 2, 3 units. That's cool. I can also see Cody being separate from Mango Zane, but I weirdly cannot see Zane IBDW and then Mango. That's like IBDW doesn't feel on the same exact plane as Zane to me.
Yeah, that was the point I wanted to get to next. When like if we had some level of resolution for Cody's situation, which I feel like we do, in the sense that it's like, yeah, he's the clear number 3, but is he? If we have a tiered based approach for like this contenders, not ranking list, is Cody in this same graphic? I think some people like who are really nitty gritty into the numbers say no, and that's like why people call it the Mango Zane tier. The other thing that comes up, and I'm gonna kind of give another nod to Tossed here because he did have a Ask the Mixup question about this, is it's like, why is Mango above Zane if we're talking about specific things for 2021, and then also maybe with a more of an onus on offline. I think it's like, yeah, there's a very clear Mango Zane tier. So to your point, Ginger, it's kind of strange to me that it's like S plus tier parentheses number 1, by the way, and it's Mango.
Yeah.
I do think it's like it's kind of muddy to rank your 1 and 2 at this point in time, for sure. Whereas like 3, 4, 5 to 10 are probably a bit more cemented in most people's minds. But it's hard for me to justify a ranking that separates specifically Mango and then like leaves Zane out to dry. And then kind of reading off of Toss thing, and I'll pass it off to you, Radar, and Ginger, if you have anything else as well. But Toss messaged in hashtag Ask the Mixup, and he said, I was saying this earlier about an interesting question. Was talking with Zamu about yesterday, is that normally the MPGR, I believe, asks, if 100 tournaments were run, where would you expect these competitors to place on average, which would make me favor Zane as number 1 over Mango. But the question this year was different and was purely based off of results from 2021 and expectations for 2022, which would make me favor Mango as number 1. So I guess, like, what are your thoughts about a situation like that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, and it's kind of like we've sort of been saying this story the entire time of this episode, which is that like it's very hard to disentangle like not even legacy, but like player perception. So for example, for me, like Mango is a player that in my head, I still kind of think he's sort of inconsistent though. You know, he kind of feels like he could just lose like, you know, like to someone random, and then, oh crap, like, you know, we were hoping to see a Mango in grand finals, but he lost to blank player and it was a rough match, and oh well. Except like lately, Mango hasn't really been doing that. But in my head, I still like when I'm watching tournaments, I'm like, oh god, Mango, like don't do this to me, man, you know? And that kind of like does affect how you're gonna do a ranking. Yeah. Ginger, you want to do something?
I just was gonna quickly say one of the weird things is he loses still like that. But he doesn't do it when it matters. He lost to Offset and SFAT, and then still got second at the tournament, or like still made it out in winners even or something. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, like he lost, but like it doesn't really matter, I guess. Like, but yeah, he's very consistent recently outside of like when it doesn't matter in a sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's kind of a tricky thing. A thing I also was wondering, not to derail the existing question, is also like, if Plup went to Summit 12 and won Summit 12, do we put Plup in this tier? Because I feel like Plup is one of those players that because he wasn't at Summit, and now there was Wizrobe, I guess, so like Wizrobe wasn't there. No, Wizrobe was. Was he there?
Wizrobe was. I lost to him in losers. Thanks.
Okay, so Wizrobe was there. Yeah, never mind. He could have been there. He could have not been. You know, who knows?
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. This was fun.
Yeah. But like Plup had really good offline results. You know, obviously this is the benefit of a tournament just happened that wasn't in this ranking period, even though it was online. Like had really good results at LACS, and then could have conceivably won Smash Summit as well. Like, I guess this is just further kind of questioning, like, should Cody be in this tier? Because I feel like you could make an argument that like Plup could be there. Ginger.
Yeah. God, I know that this is literally supposed to be about Eto's question, which was fine. But this is a point that I really wanted to bring up because I realized it while I was talking about Cody and why I feel like it's weird to see him in this tier or whatever. I think my mind might be poisoned by LACS. I don't know if you guys feel that way at all, but like that isn't considered in this ranking. But like my brain can't separate the two. It's the same reason I'm mad about Moki not being on the thing. I'm like, really? Which is like, I see Cody in this tier and I'm like, really? Like, this guy just lost it, like, he fucking beat me at the tournament. But, like, he lost to HBox and lost to somebody else. And it's like, well, heck, man, how are you in the same tier as these guys? Also, it sucks, to your point, Radar, going back to what you said, sucks for Plup that he goes to Smash World Tour, trains for it, specifically doesn't go to Summit because he wants to prepare for Smash World Tour, not burn himself out, go weekend to weekend, top, super majors. And then Mango, Zane, IBDW, Leffen, all don't go. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, of course Plup wins, I guess, but, like, what the heck, man? Like, he didn't go to the one where everybody went, and then he won the one where nobody was. It's like, well, maybe he would be in this next tier, but unfortunately the top players didn't go. Like, what are you going to do?
Melee in a time of COVID, man. It just...
Seriously.
I mean, I feel like that kind of, like, the Plup question that Radar had brought up kind of goes back to this, like, circular logic situation that we had talked about earlier of, like, is Plup winning Summit 12 more valuable than him getting good wins on players? And it's like, yeah, like, maybe he's in the question if he wins the event, but who did he beat to win it? And that's always going to be kind of like...
He has to beat the good people,
assume
right?
he has to beat the people.
Yeah, like he has to beat Zayn.
Yeah,
he
and
has
like...
some of these guys, right? Like...
Most.
To win.
Well, not most, but a lot of them.
And I think that's fair, too. Like, we can... you can go into hypotheticals like that with like, the expectation that you will probably have to go through any permutation of Zayn and Mango to win an event if you are not Zayn and Mango. That's great, but I don't know. I think it's like, it's just interesting to me to think about, like how brackets would have shaken up with a different winner for like an event like that. But I think to kind of give like a short answer to your question, if Plup won Summit 12, would we consider him alongside Cody? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, in fact, I feel like Plup and Cody should be next to each other in S tier, not S plus, at least right now. So
yeah, I feel like I would be so happy with that too. I honestly, now see,
this isn't like bashing Cody session either, by the way. Like, yeah, it's like
we're all in agreement. He's like the third best player in the world, and he won Summit 12.
Clear number 3.
Clear. Anyway, but now we get into the zone where it's like, okay, Mango Zane, then it's nice. It's Mango Zane, then it's IBDW Plup. Then it's Amsa, whoever the heck is the next person, Wizzy. And it's like, why don't we just give these people numbers? Like, I don't know. It just gets weird once you do that, I feel.
Yeah, I do think it's like, I mean, would it be better? Because there's like Fiction's point about, like, I like the tier system because the tiers kind of like mean something. But at a certain point, like, maybe a numbered system starts to get better. I also think they could have maybe added like some qualifiers to the tiers, like outside of just like S, A, B, and like, we've already talked about how that might not be the greatest labeling. Like, they could say like S tier, S plus tier. These are the people who we think are the like favorites to win any tournament that they enter. S tier, this is people who we think like are still like a serious threat to win a tournament, have great wins and losses, aren't the like certified best players, but like are without a doubt like top 10. And like the tier below, these are people who regularly get top 10, like, something like that. Like, maybe that's just implied. Maybe I'm like wasting their time.
Yeah,
but, like,
maybe, right? Are we being too nitpicky then?
Yeah, like it's kind of like, now that I'm saying it, it's like, okay, maybe this is just like, this should just go without saying. So
what we should do is rank tournaments like Ultimate does, and maybe Melee already does this in back end, and I don't know about it. But like if there is like an inarguable B tier tournament that a B tier player won, then that all makes sense and everything is good with the world, and like we all get to watch the sunrise the next day. But if we have this stratification built in to events, I think that there's so much less of a question mark to put on all of these tiers if you can just say like, okay, Mango and Zane have the most S+ tier tournament wins, so they're in the fucking S+ tier, and that's all there is to it. And Cody has one S+ tier win, but he doesn't have as many as Mango and Zane, so that's why he's not in the S+ tier. Yeah, it's like so yeah. I like I know we said we weren't gonna like derail super hard and go into like this is how you assholes should be ranking this stuff, but like. Like rank the tournaments. I don't get it. So.
I don't know, and I feel like I can literally hear the Melee stats people like in my
they're gonna call me an idiot for it, and it's fine.
My mind, either like radar, you don't understand anything. This has been done before. This system is trash. Blah 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 blah. And then like usually they're like you got to consider this, and I'm often like, yeah, I didn't consider that shit. Okay, so. I feel, I don't know. Ultimately, this list is pretty good. I think if we take away the whole, I don't love calling people a C-tier player thing, I think it fairly accurately hits a lot of the good players in the list. I think the scene was really needed a ranking, even this isn't a ranking. I really hope that we will continue to have some stuff moving forward. I know they plan to start in March. I think they've been very professional about like recognizing that you don't want to like incentivize people to travel during COVID and all that. So I'm curious, like hopefully COVID gets better. Hopefully they say like, cool, we are going to start it in March like we decided to start it. But I don't know. Like overall, final thoughts on the list from you guys?
I like it a lot. I think that everything is really solid. I can understand where everybody's coming from, why they would place people certain places. My biggest gripe, which I hopefully won't end it on, but is that, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people got shafted from the C tier that I really wish saw some recognition. Especially, I'm literally all about representing the people who play the game a lot. I want to see, like, that's why I'm like a Hungrybox fan now. This guy just enters like every tournament. Props to HBox, okay? He also pushed through every single loss. He lost every single day in front of thousands of people, everybody making fun of him. He passed out, beating me or whatever. I don't care. He's grinding through all the tournaments. Good for him. So like, man, I just wish there were. I wish the list was bigger so that there could be more people that got recognition. Yeah. But when I look at the list, I'm looking at the whole graphic with everybody here. I'm like, this all makes sense to some degree. Maybe you could shift one or two people, maybe, depending on how you exactly, like your qualifications or whatever. But I think it's awesome they put this out. And as a competitor, speaking from a competitor side, we absolutely did need something like this. The thing is, I'll go to tournaments regardless of whether or not I'm getting ranked just because I love it so much. But the amount of times I've heard Mango say, like, oh, why should I even play? Like, there's no rankings. Or, like, so many people are motivated by rankings. So getting something out like this might even make some people mad. Good. Hopefully it makes you mad enough to go to tournaments. Like, that would be awesome.
I think for, like, it's like, we've brought this up again multiple times, I think, on the Mixup just in general. But, like, for the health and integrity, if that's the right word, of just, or like the ecosystem rather of like esports, or like Melee as an esport, rankings are the way that like people get sponsors and stuff.
Yep.
Like that's like the conversation of like, this is just a hard and like baked in number that I have here that can like be a quick test for, or like a quick indicator of like my value to you as an organization. Like without the added like fluff or conversation or anything like that. You can just say, I'm this rank and this is why you should bring me onto your team. And that in turn helps esports, and that in turn helps the game become a bit more corporate's not the right word, but like, you know, professional, and like get us into another level. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
will say, go ahead.
I was just gonna kind of wrap that thought up with like, I think rankings are always a net good, even though they result in like net bad mental health for the people who make them. But there's also a lot of work that goes into them, and that was you know, something we had talked about with and joked about with Wheat, where it's just like, oh yeah, let's just throw rankings together. No, it's not that easy. So thankless job, as we talked about. Put some respect on the people who do make it. Obviously, some level of subjectivity comes in to generating something like this, where it is stratified, and there are tiers across something as robust as skill level, which is hard to kind of put into words sometimes. And that's why everyone's making react videos now to something like this. That's why we're streaming to talk about it. But it's a hard job for sure. It's not easy to do for sure, but it's a net good for the community.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm gonna say, to just completely derail your very valid and good point, is if that Ginger was ever the person who bet that he would have to like sub to Amaranth or whatever, or donate to Amaranth, in that copy pasta message would be HBox passed out while beating me. Like, after beating me. It was just, I completely forgot that was the match, and just like that statement, like, yeah, I mean, I guess he passed out after beating me or whatever, but you know, great competitor.
Oh my god.
I love that.
But yeah, I think that, you know, kind of wraps it up for that segment. You know, great list. Definitely give a big shout out to all the people who worked on it. They work really, really hard. I think we don't have a ton of time for Ask the Mix-Up. If we do have a couple of questions to pull up, I actually haven't checked the Discord.
I have a few. One is kind of relevant to what we were just saying in terms of like, Ginger, you had mentioned like people who are maybe like punished, for instance, of like not attending, or like attending too much.
Mm-hmm.
This was a question from Cypher, host of Bottom of the Smash Mountain, so huge shout outs to him. But he said, there are several online weeklies that draw good numbers. Would Ginger like the idea of a weekly series using a month, parentheses, 4 events of results to compile a ranking? I guess similar in nature to this one of like, here are your tiered players. But he said, like, you know, for example, here are the top 5 players of TMT in January, or something like that.
That could be cool. Part of the problem when you talk about net play, and I'm like, Radar's been very careful to not derail us into a bunch of net play stuff, and trust me, I have a lot of things to say about it. But like, one of the scary things is like, you always have, if you have nationwide tournaments, it just gets really awkward. Or if one of them is only like a regional event, like maybe you have a top person in like a certain region, but then that same person could also be included in a different ranking for a different tournament over the course of the month. That might just be kind of weird. And also just coast to coast net play it's just weird to take as seriously as you might take other Melee. Sure, it matters. Sure, it's important. Yes, it's a showcase of skill. But it's hard to like make hard and fast lists about this kind of stuff. But I think it could be cool. Incentivize. It sounds like a way to incentivize people to enter tournaments, which could be interesting. I also am. Maybe this is what should happen. Maybe that is the idea. My whole thing is that you need to tell people whether or not events are going to count for a ranking. Like, I really think that's important. It decides whether people are going to care, if they're going to go secondaries, if they're going to, you know, DQ, whether or not, like, the people who are running the panels, like, they have a much easier time. They look at the events that count, and then they figure out that, you know? And if they count, then if you did go a secondary, you should be punished for it, because you knew you were entering an event where this was literally going to count for the official MPGR.
Exactly.
So, like, dang, if this is a way to do it, that's cool. But I do think there should be some sort of system, even within, and especially within, net play tournaments where, you know, players know whether or not it's going to count for some sort of ranking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at Cypher's question from, like, the content mind is, like, this is, like, a pitfall that I see in content where I'm, like, so often I'll see something and I'm like, damn, that's a good idea. but it is way too much fucking work for me to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is an excellent idea for all of the points that you said of like it incentivizes people, it like puts spotlight on people for the same reason that someone like Save Is Untitled, for instance, had his Rising Star Spotlight, where he would do like kind of a piece on it. That was like a lot more robust and more fleshed out than just saying like, okay, like this is what happened in January. These players did really good. Like, that's awesome. Going through and like curating clips and like finding footage and then like actually creating a ranking and generating, that is a lot of time invested. So me as a content person, I'm just like, I really like this concept, but like hell if I am ever going to write something like that, because that's going to take way too long for me.
True.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do we want to pull up one more question?
It's like 1.5 from Casper. You probably know them, Ginger.
Yeah, of course.
The first one is, can I get a raise?
Okay, so the running meme in my community is that Casper's locked in my basement. So we'll see if I can like sneak you a little more food or something, but I don't know about a raise.
Okay. And then the other one is, how big of an impact do you think Ludwig has on growing the Smash scene as a whole? Do you think there's going to be a whole new generation of Melee players that got introduced to the game through him?
I think Ludwig's influence is massive. And I think it matters a lot. But one thing this is going to be me now criticizing Ludwig. One thing I wish that he would do is really energize his community about starting to play Melee. I feel like he's really down to create content around Melee, which is so helpful, and stream Melee, which is so helpful, and run tournaments with $30,000 prize pools, which is so helpful. But like one thing I wish is that he would like mobilize the community in some way to get them involved in the Smash scene, not just like the content, eater scene. Like, sure, you're like part of the community. You're helping out by watching and liking Ludwig's tweets, which give back to the Genesis TOs and all that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'd like. What was the second part of that question? There was something, right?
Do you think there's going to be a whole new generation of Melee players that got introduced to the game through him? I think you kind of touched on that.
Yeah, which is that's kind of what sparked my brain thinking about that too. Is like, I don't think so. I think definitely I think it's going to boost our viewership and maybe the people that talk on Reddit. Now there's going to be a few more people that like Mango and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But a whole new generation of people that are willing to play, I don't know. I don't even know if they understand how to play or what's going on, that they use Slippy, and all this kind of stuff, that you can play online right now. You can go play your friends. I'd love to see it happen. And I think Ludwig, if he does do that, absolutely could influence an entire generation of Melee players that start playing today. So it could happen. He has the influence to do it, and I hope we see it, yeah.
One thing that I'm kind of interested to see, because I was thinking this while watching the tournament, which is on YouTube as well, so that could be a factor. I know I had some friends who were like, I can't find it, and I'm like, it's because it's on Ludwig's stream, like on YouTube, and they were like, oh, okay. But the viewer numbers didn't seem like insane for the scale of the tournament. Like, I feel like it was around like 30K, which to me, like, you got to think like 4 or 5K are like Ludwig viewers that are like, oh, what's this? Like, maybe I'm overestimating. It's got to be like at least 1,000 or 2,000, right? But
easily,
it feels like those numbers to me didn't reflect like oh my God, this is like a big chunk of the Melee community. And then what's this other number here? That's got to be like, all of Ludwig's subscribers and fans and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I completely agree with Ginger that like not critical of Ludwig at all. I think, like does so many objectively amazing things for the scene. Mm-hmm. As far as the answer to the question goes, like, I think there's clearly like if you set up a tournament that has a big prize pool, because even you were talking about like making tournaments more important, one of the ways you can naturally do that is unfortunately very difficult to do is to like have big prize pools. Like if you say, hey guys, we're going to have $1 million tournament, you don't need to be like, and it's going to give you this many points for your little ranking. You can be like, fuck yeah, give me that $1 million prize pool. So, Ludwig just running events that like put a lot of money into Melee is amazing. Like Ludwig getting more kind of press and publicity around Melee is amazing, and like understanding how to monetize Melee is important as well. That being said, I'm not like, I would love for him to comment on this if you know, if we can make this a clip and someone wants to tag Ludwig, because I don't think we're going to be able to book Ludwig as a guest anytime soon, not until Ask the Mixup becomes the #1 hashtag on Twitter. I would love to hear like how many DMs does Ludwig get, you know, that say like, dude, now I'm following Melee, because I could see it like I watch Ludwig stream, and every once in a while he does this Melee thing, and so I don't usually watch then, but then when he comes back and he's doing TikTok time, like I love it. I don't know. I'd love to, like, I don't actually think I know one way or the other. I'm not saying that he's not bringing in people, because I'm sure objectively, like, it's always going to be a positive number. I just don't know how big that number is. And if he could elaborate on that, again, clip it, tag him on Twitter, I would love to hear the answer.
Yeah, I think Bottom of the Smash Mountain commented in here and said a lot of people DM Ludwig after LACS4 saying they were first-time players, which is awesome. Yeah, I think to your point, Radar, exactly, like, is there data on what the conversion is? Because that's like the big number, right? And like the so-called marketing funnel that Ludwig and Atrioc and all of them talk about of, yeah, like having a big person like Ludwig who is very clearly invested in the scene. Obviously he has Slime with him, he has Nick, he has like the whole Yard crew that are all from Melee, so that's amazing. It increases your funnel in that you have more potential viewers coming in. That's just a given metric that increases substantially from that. But how many of those new viewers are actually going to pick up and learn the barriers to entry specifically in this moment in time, which is online? So it's like, oh, I had a GameCube when I was younger. Like, I would love to play Melee right now. Let me just bash my GameCube into my BenQ monitor until it allows me to play online. Like, no, they have to go through and actually like look things up. How many people are actually going to do that? I think that percentage is a lot smaller than what people probably believe. But that's just like kind of the nature of the beast, right? Like your conversion rates on a lot of things, just kind of like in general, whether it's media or marketing or a call to action, it's always going to be like, you're never going to get close to 100% on that. Like you have to kind of hedge your bets and assume that that's going to be a smaller number, because you're already getting people the first step in, and then going the extra mile after that is another ask for a consumer. So that gets challenging for sure. But yeah, to Radar's point, if there's data on that, one, I don't know how you'd even collect it, but two, we would love to know. So yeah.
I think I do know. So YouTube often offers a fair amount of like analytics that you can look at. I have not done a ton of streaming on YouTube. Even Walt, as we speak on YouTube, has not done a ton of streaming. But with videos, you can get like quite a lot of data about like when people like leave the video, how long they were on it, you know, like the demographic of your viewership, all this stuff, right? I wonder if we look at LACS's analytic data, and it says something like most of the viewers were people that don't usually watch your stream. Well, that to me, I would interpret as like, okay, that's a lot of people who are like Melee fans who went to watch the Melee stream that just happened to be Ludwig's stream. If it was like, oh my God, a huge chunk of them are subscribers to your YouTube channel, then I would go, maybe this is like people who are just fans of his stream watching, you know, Melee and getting exposed to it for the first time. It kind of, again, it goes back to like, I think Ludwig could actually help us answer some of these questions. My gut feeling with this is like, whenever you watch a streamer who does a lot of the same thing, which is kind of the opposite of Ludwig, like let's say, for example, they're like a speedrunner, like they only do SM64 or something all the time. When they don't do that game that they're really known for, their viewership drops off in a big way. And I feel like a lot of the people who watch them are just like, oh, I'll watch them when they go back to Mario. And I feel like Ludwig might kind of have that with Melee, is all I'm saying, where like when he streams the biggest Melee tournament, a bunch of people are like, that's fine, he'll be back doing his regular variety stuff tomorrow. And so if we had kind of that data, it'd be easier to kind of piece together what influence he does have.
One thing I wanted to mention too, I think that those stats would really be telling for sure. I'm sure Ludwig has the clout to ask Slippy like, oh, how many new users were created over the course of the weekend, or the week coming up to it, or the week after, right? Like, I'm sure that's data that Fizzy literally has and could probably share with the community.
Mm-hmm.
Even we have that clout, thank God.
Yeah.
So, like, we should be sliding into Fizzy's DMs.
That'd be really cool to know, honestly.
Tag Fizzy guys on Twitter. They're going. All right. Well, I think is that all for today? Are we good on the Ask the Mixup thing? Is there any final chat questions or anything? Because the episode is already kind of long. We don't want to go too long. Is there any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think we can begin our little wrap up here. But get some more people involved in our next episode, which will be on a schedule that we have. So that will be coming up at some point. Yeah, what's hilarious, man? I was gonna tell you after we were done recording, but I looked at my calendar like not 5 minutes ago because I was like, shit, I don't think I can actually do 2 weeks from now, and I'm supposed to go skiing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I am. So, but we'll talk about it. In any case, yeah, this I think was a good episode. We can start to have our wrap up here. Of course, Ginger, thank you for joining us for this. This was a lot of fun. I think you bring a lot of really good information in a nice, eloquent package. So it's cool to kind of hear your thoughts on all of these things that we went through, specifically rankings and stuff too. It's really cool to kind of get your perspective on those kinds of things. Any kind of last thoughts, shout outs, thanks you want to give before we kind of wrap up for the episode?
I mean, thanks to you guys, obviously, for giving me the platform to speak about some of this stuff. I mean, it's honestly, like, I love talking about Melee. Melee is literally my life. It's the thing I do for fun. It's my hobby. It's my community. It's my job, everything. If I could be on a million more podcasts talking about more Melee, I would do it. And you guys ask really insightful questions. Everything flowed really well. I just had a good time talking about Melee with some other people that love talking about Melee. So thank you so much for that.
Nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot. There is a question because I promised Brent. Brent of Last Stock Legends, formerly also working with PG, asked, how did Ginger feel about my ranking blurb on the pre-GR?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Man, I'm trying to remember exactly what it said now. Usually my memory doesn't fail me. But no, I liked, actually, especially that it didn't just write me like this meticulous Falco who's incredibly measured all the time. It's like, dude, sometimes I literally just ditch the game plan. I'm like, well, I could just attack this guy. And I like that it had that sprinkled in. It was like, hey, sometimes these balls to the wall in your face. And it's like, yeah, sometimes I am. But I thought it described things really well. I liked it a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I had to make sure I got that one because I made Brent use the hashtag. But yeah, guys, we are going to wrap that one up for tonight. Another successful episode in the first quarter of the year. Thanks for watching the Mix-Up. 2022, baby. This is our podcast year. I'm feeling it. We will be back with a vengeance in 2 weeks or less, or your money back. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really much appreciated. Of course, Ginger, again, thank you for being a wonderful guest. We hope we can bring you on again very, very soon. And thanks to all you guys for sticking around for 3 hours for us to just talk about Melee. Like we said, it's awesome. We love this game, we love this community, and we love you guys. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time, guys. Peace out.
See you guys later.
Bye.